What is going on, everybody? I hope you guys are excited. We're going to have a great show. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really pumped. The audio might sound a little different. Let me know if it sounds scuffed. This is going to be a very, very, very interesting night tonight. We're going to be debating Andrew Wilson, Corbin, and RattlesnakeTV, and Corbin Sayles will be my partner in crime. It was supposed to be somebody else, but they ended up dropping out. So very exciting news. I hope you guys are excited. This is kind of the first time you guys are seeing a more formal debate of mine. I've been kind of out of the Twitch poll, YouTube debate scene for quite a while, but I'm pretty excited to get in here and debate some of this stuff. We obviously have about an hour until that starts, and then probably in about 30 minutes or so, I'll be going in there and getting ready for this. But rest assured, I've done quite a bit of research on this. So I'm not going to give away my strategy for the next 30 minutes or so. We're going to go ahead and cover. The news. So let me go ahead and get that pulled up right quick here. Hold on one second. I should have had a fourth monitor. Would have been nice to have a fourth monitor. Hold on one second. Trying to get my chat pulled up. I might be a little bit more low energy tonight in terms of, you know, the first 30 minutes. I'm kind of just saving myself some energy for the debate. Gear Jammer saying that. Welcome in. By the way, guys, as you're coming in here, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you can. That would be greatly appreciated. It would boost ourself and the algorithm as well. And an update real quick as people are starting to flood in here. I just want to remind everybody, tomorrow's stream, Friday's stream, is going to be canceled. I have plans with the family, so I will not be doing Friday's stream. It will be Saturday, just as a heads up. All right, let me go ahead and pull up my full YouTube chat real quick. Appreciate every one of you guys that have already liked it. Let's get this pulled up real quick. I need to shave my beard. My beard's getting a little long, and it's kind of getting a little scruffy. Let's see. Getting a little long. Oh, there we go. I need to pull up my chat. Alrighty then. Let's go ahead and jump straight into what's been going on recently. This is going to be a little bit different than normal. Again, for the first 30 minutes, we're just going to kind of go over a little bit of like what's been going on today. So I might just kind of scroll through X looking for some stuff to talk about. In the meantime, I will not be talking about what we're going to be debating before the debate for obvious reasons. I don't want to reveal all of the research that I've done. Nonetheless, let's look through this real quick. So I know that we had RFK Jr. speaking at the congressional meeting. He let loose. He did not know his budget numbers, which was wild. RFK Jr. not knowing his own department's budget numbers. Imagine my shock. Imagine my shock. What else did we have? Oh, Dr. Oz was saying that Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Totally disagree with that. 110,000%. But it's the thing we see with this administration. Right? This administration love to try and sit there and kiss Trump's ring. That's exactly what's going on, right? This administration is refusing to have any other opinions other than Donald Trump is great. Other stuff we have here. There wasn't a whole lot that honestly I feel like went on today. This RFK Jr. The RFK Jr. House Committee, whatever. This took up most of the day's news cycle. There really was not a whole lot of news after that. More stuff about the wind towers and pro peace ticket. Yeah, this is the funny thing too. Is look, the White House reveals it'll bring back the Department of War name for the Department of Defense. Yeah, the Department of War. Remember, Donald Trump made a comment last year saying that he was going to be the no new wars president. But now we want to name the Department of Defense the Department of War. We're also seeing, and I have not covered it yet, but I will cover it a little bit now. I plan on covering all of the news on Saturday. So I'm going to be a little delayed on a lot of this news, but I'll go ahead and cover the one topic I really would like to talk about. The boat incident. The boating incident that took place in the Gulf. Donald Trump took unilateral action to go in and strike a boat in international waters, a Venezuelan boat. Now, as far as what we have in terms of facts, okay, we don't know to what extent that person on the boat was actually carrying anything, what they were carrying. And let's be very clear, every argument that I've had with a conservative has absolutely had them melting down. They can't handle a thought experiment. Because then I ask them, I said, why is this allowed? And what they tell me is that, well, because Donald Trump labeled them a T group. And sorry, I say that TikTok language, a terrorist organization. That is what they say. They say Donald Trump labeled it that way. I said, okay, but why is Donald Trump the arbiter for all international waters? Why are all international vessels beholden to what Donald Trump declares? And they say, well, it's because it's Donald Trump. They can't understand. They crash out. Because the reality is that international waters is very finicky. Okay? The thing is that there's several different kinds of organizations that really have rules, so to speak, over international waters. Generally speaking, the stance is that you only take these kinds of maneuvers in defensive postures. You don't do this offensively. And again, a lot of the Republicans, and I have to use that because we're not in a debate forum where I can present these Republicans, sat there and said that, well, oh, it's because they'll sit there and say, I'll pose the hypothetical. I'll say, well, why don't we have Russia? Oh, no, that's what it was. Republicans are going to sit there and they'll go, oh, well, this wasn't a defensive posture. They'll say this is a defensive posture because of the fact that they were bringing stuff to the United States. I go, no. That's not how this works. Then they'll pivot and they'll say, well, it's because it's a cartel. Okay, so then does that justify us having bombs levied against U.S. citizens? Because they're, keep in mind, by the way, in the U.S. we do have cartel members. Where does that logical conclusion end? It's not good. Furthermore, there's the issue of Venezuela, right? We have to address that as well. The issue with Venezuela right now is that we are in very tense waters, no pun intended, with Venezuela. Are these Venezuelan citizens that we just totally annihilated in the middle? In which case, by the way, might be a problem. This administration is doing everything that they can to bring us into a war. So to bring us back to this idea of the Department of War, we are inching closer to war every day. I feel as if there's a disconnect here, right? I've tried analyzing this. I go, why is there so many contradictions going on in the Trump administration? Here is where my belief lies on this, and this might be contentious for some. Here's what I think. For all the talks about the deep state and how Biden is a puppet and everything else, I actually think that 90 to 95% of what comes out of this administration or all these actions are because, again, Donald Trump has said such, by the way. He has a hands-off president. He says, hey, go and do your thing. And then they rush to come to him for any kind of approvals that they need. And Donald Trump, with a blank check, signs off on it. And that's exactly what's happening. I think that Pete Hegseth, it seems to be, is a war hawk. It almost seems as if Pete Hegseth wants to make his mark. That's certainly what this feels like. That's certainly what this seems like. Right? We saw this with Iran. We saw this when it came down to Venezuela and the strike there. Now, and here's the funny thing. Not funny thing, but we saw yesterday numerous survivors of Epstein come forward and hold a press conference. During that press conference, there was a flyover. Now, let's be very clear. There was also Donald Trump hosting the Polish president. But let's be real. We all know that was part of 2-in-1, right? But let's rewind this. Remember my theory I told you guys. I told you all. I said Donald Trump flying the B-2 bomber over Putin when he was in Alaska was not a power move. That was Donald Trump sending his condolences, saying, hey, this is who I support. This was a look at my big toys moment. People forget that. And because, again, I ask everybody, Trump did the same thing for the Polish president. So if we're to take any kind of flyover and apply that and say, well, the flyover happening in and of itself has come some kind of show of force, was Donald Trump showing force against the Polish president? No, it was a sign of honor. And that's exactly what it was with Putin. See, everybody keeps misreading these tea leaves. But nonetheless, Water Rat says, Hexeth is the first Secretary of Defense with balls. Too bad you can't handle that. I'm glad to know, though, that you guys have now shifted from the position of no new wars, the peacetime president, to now being pro-war. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see that you guys are all for that. And again, I would be very clear here. I think that this idea of peace through strength, right, which is what they're kind of trying to take on by this, relies heavily on the idea that there won't be retaliation. That's the problem here. Because when there is retaliation and someone does call their bluff, we're in trouble. We're in trouble because guess what? Venezuela has been doing everything that they possibly can to become part of BRICS, which BRICS is an alliance between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Sudan, I believe is what it is. So all of those countries, and Venezuela is trying to get into bed with those countries. Remind you, we just had the Chinese conference with India, with Russia, and now they want to have, and they may have just had, North Korea there in China for that military parade. Venezuela has allegedly been receiving armaments from Russia. You want to talk about World War III? I'm not someone to sit there and stoke the flames of it. But let's make no mistake. Going after Venezuela, you're going to have the exact same thing we're doing to Ukraine, Russia's going to do to Venezuela. Russia is going to provide armaments. They're going to provide funding. We're seeing this happen already with the Russia and Ukraine war, just on Russia's side. We're seeing where India is providing aid to, or China is providing aid to Russia. We're seeing North Korea provide aid and soldiers openly to Russia. Straight up hypocrisy. MAGA isn't about helping Americans first. LOL, this man has done everything he can to destroy what kept everything checked. Absolutely, Zipping Link. Welcome back, by the way. Welcome back in. Hey, guys, listen, real quick. I wanted to make this announcement as more people are coming in here. We're starting to trek in here. I think a lot of the regulars are coming in. We are hosting, or not hosting, we're going to be on a debate panel tonight. It's going to be me, Cade, what's his name again? I think it's Cade, Corbin Sayles. Corbin Sayles, I apologize. Corbin Sayles, and then me and him are going to be debating Andrew Wilson and Rattlesnake TV, another regular on Andrew Wilson's show, of is Donald Trump consolidating power, and is it good or bad, right? I mean, that kind of follows. So that's what we're going to be debating tonight. It's going to be very exciting. That happens at 8:30 Eastern, or sorry, 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. So right now we're just kind of doing a pre-warm-up show. We're getting everything kind of going, getting our mind working and everything. We're talking about some current events, things of that nature. Their militia has been on short rations for years. Well, and here's the other problem with this as well, Pat, is that what you have to consider is if we go to war with Venezuela, what do you think that does? That's going to push a lot of those citizens up through Mexico, and guess what? They're going to arrive at our borders. Which, by the way, our border is not completely closed, albeit, southwest border encounters have dropped. Although on that end, they've redefined how they look at an encounter. No longer is it just at the port of entry. I have to look at that. There's been some playing with that numbers. But nonetheless, southwest border encounters are still high. Not as high as they were under Biden, admittedly. But yeah, this is something we have to consider when we look at what's going on right now with Russia or with Venezuela. So us going in and just booming or bombing a fishing vessel out in the middle of the international waters, that's kind of concerning to me. It's actually extremely concerning. And the problem is that anytime you engage on this argument, guys, the right loves to cherry pick it and appeal to emotions and say, oh, so you must support those people that are carrying the drug. No. In fact, no. In fact, the facts can be even potentially correct. My solution is board the vessel, take a defensive posture. If they do have weapons on board, guess what? Handle them. Handle them. It's not hard to do. Go and do that. It'd be a great training exercise as well. And We can collect intel from those individuals on board. But no, they decided to take unilateral action to conduct a military strike in international waters on Venezuelan, I'm assuming Venezuelan citizens. All facts can be the same. My contention here is specifically with the action of taking out a vessel in international waters. And the excuses that are coming out from MAGA on this are pretty wild. So anyways, no, Obama did it many times. Bill too. What? Taking out fishing vessels in international waters? And what was the circumstances behind it? See, this is the problem. A lot of MAGA, I don't know if you're necessarily MAGA, I would assume you probably are, sit there and they don't understand that there's nuance to these cases. They'll always provide cases without any actual kind of nuance where these vessels firing upon U.S. vessels. And again, I go back to the idea, if you say that, well, Trump can just declare a group a T group, and then that is justification for levying a military strike against them, what's to stop him from labeling anybody a T group? You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, why is he doing it? And again, also the issue is by that same logic, couldn't Putin label the U.S. Navy a T? I say T. I work with TikTok language. So if you hear T group, terrorist organization, couldn't Russia do the same thing to the U.S.? Be very problematic, wouldn't it be? So using that standard is extremely problematic. I like an objective set of standards where, again, we use a use of force continuum just like you would anywhere else. Okay? You try to show force, right? Show of force. You show up in multiple boats if you need be. Surround the boat. Board the boat. And if they fire upon the boat, bye-bye boat. MAGA talked a big game about getting out of wars, yet starting crap with other countries. Both parties suck, but MAGA really screwing over Americans just to force us working longer for less money. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Zippy Link, right? Is that they're trying to force us into this idea of working more blue-collar jobs, right? They want to bring back manufacturing jobs. But is that really taking us forward or stepping us back in time, right? Yes, there are a lot of blue-collar jobs around here. Certainly. But do we want a workforce that only consists of blue-collar labor? I don't know how I feel about that. There's a lot of issues that come with that. Health issues, namely, right? I've worked blue-collar jobs. I know many people who work blue-collar jobs. There's a serious issue when it comes to working those positions. You're exposed to chemicals that you might otherwise not have been exposed to. I would like to have an educated workforce, one that we have kind of a balance. Speaking of that, we saw today, by the way, there's a job freeze, guys. Jobs are not, companies are not hiring. They're freezing up good. And that's kind of an issue, right? Hey guys, look, we got 7 likes. Please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Like I said, tonight we're going to be doing a debate with Andrew Wilson alongside Corbin Sayles. So it's going to be a pretty interesting debate. Not doing well with overeducated individuals. Wait, for goodness sake, Biden admin used the FBI against Catholics? Sure, Pat. He may have. And you want to give the president that authority to label any kind of organization a terrorist organization? So you want to give and this is the problem that I have with MAGA is they're so short-sighted that they don't realize that the immense amount of power that they're giving to the president right now, which we may or may not cover this. I'm getting a little too close to the sun here. The immense amount of power they're giving will be certainly turned back around on them. And that's the concern. MAGA's on terrorism. Look at the January 6th. Also, we have a ton of other countries investing heavily in education, yet we are destroying our education department. Why? Yeah, and that's a good point too, Zipping Lake. Right? We're destroying our education department and just going to give a blank check to states like we're doing with the big, beautiful bill. Yeah, that health, the idea of rural hospitals being helped. Yeah, they're sending those checks to states to use essentially as they see fit. As long as Mahatma Oz approves that check. Nobody's against that, you effing idiot. You're just lying. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Spartacus, for deleting that message. Yeah, so this is kind of a concern of mine, right? Give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull this up over here. There we go. So again, as we go through this with Venezuela, it'll be interesting to see what plays out. It's crazy to me to see that they want to label it the Department of War, because we all know that the Department of War is eventually going to go to war. And then again, there are a whole day spent talking about RFK Jr. and COVID stuff. Oh, there was also this news. I don't know if I have it up here yet. I have to look more into it. But allegedly, the DOJ is looking into red flag laws, essentially, or not allowing individuals from the LGBTQ community to end up not allowing them to receive firearms, calling it a mental illness. Crazy. Again, coming from the same Republicans that say shall not be abridged. Depends on where you stand on that, right? That's the same community that does that. I heard that had those arguments multiple times. Now, we'll see if they backtrack on this, but let's bear in mind, Pam Bondi has openly stated she's for red flag laws. She's openly stated as such. So what I would imagine they're looking at doing here is that they're looking into whether or not LGBTQ communities would be fitting under that mental health area of the red flag laws. So yeah, they're going to, and this is probably what they're going to do is they're going to put forth, they're going to say, hey guys, we put forward the red flag laws, but y'all didn't vote on it. And you're going to wonder why. And that's why, because they've snuck that in there. That's exactly what they're going to do. Overtime isn't always primo money. I work 6+ hours a week and got less take home than if I worked 50 hours. I've worked in automotive paper mills, pipe mills, heavy equipment, golf courses. OT is crap these days. It ain't worth time and money. Yeah, I'll tell you, my first job out of high school, or my first full-time job out of high school, I was told by my friend. He was like, hey, man, look, come do this warehouse gig. We got a great gig going on. I'm like, all right, cool. Sounds great. You're 18, you're 18, 19 years old. You don't know what it's like to have, more than a couple $100 in your wallet every month. And he's like, hey, man, look, you just got to work 60 hours a week. I said, okay. And then I go up to the boss man, and the boss man's like, hey, man, how much were you making over at this last place you work? And I said, I was making about $8.25 an hour. And he goes, okay, well, we'll bring you on at $8.25 an hour. Brought me on at $8.25 an hour. I was a dumb-ass teenager. Brought me on at $8.25 an hour. I was working 60 hours a week, Monday through Saturday, off on Sundays, every single week. I was doing forklift operating, dye testing. I was doing heat treating, all of the whole 9 yards. Quality control, all of that. I was getting paid $8 an hour. So, yeah, it was terrible work. I did sandblasting. That was a pain in the ass. Let me tell you something, guys. If you've never done sandblasting a day in your life, and I'm not talking about the one where you stick your hands in and you use a little hose. No. I'm talking about you have a big old hose about that big, and then you go out in the middle of a field in the middle of the summer, and you just load up a 50-pound bag onto the hopper, because that's all it could fit, and you're sitting there with a mask over you, boiling your head, sandblasting this stuff. It's not fun. It's not fun. I'm just saying, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. Okay. He wants a war so we can't hold elections because Ukraine is not. That's certainly possible too, Maryland. I try to hold back on that a little bit until we get a little bit closer. I agree with you, and I understand that is probably what is going on. I just get a little cautious about that because I don't want to, stoke too much fear here, right? I get it. We're inching closer and closer to this part, right? But it's important for us to recognize it, but I like to try to just give it a little more. And it's not to say that I'm protecting Trump. I get nervous sometimes we want people to be energetic. We want people to acknowledge that we are absolutely heading this way, but I don't want people to get so discouraged that they not end up voting. I don't want people to be discouraged away from the voting place. I don't want people to be discouraged. I want them to be amped up. So yes, that is an absolute concern, but I don't want to use that rhetoric because I'm too terrified that it would push people away from voting. Why would I vote if Donald Trump is going to end up rigging it, so to speak, right? That's a concern of mine I have. I cleaned out grain bins for free. Troy, kudos. And in fact, anybody, I don't know if it's those silos, those big ones, those are extremely dangerous, guys. The ones where they store a lot of grain in those silos, yeah, there is like serious issues that can happen on the job there. Marilyn Mauser, 100%. We have to show up and vote. My goal for next year, and I'm hoping that as we get more and more involved with the stream, as you guys are more and more supportive, I would love to be able to do some kind of canvassing event next year for the midterms. I would love to be able to get out and actually show some support. Obviously, that's going to be dependent upon how this stream goes, how we do as a community. It's going to depend on my job position at that time. If we're able to make something out of this, then we'll absolutely put together some kind of canvassing event to help some of those candidates to overcome and take back Congress. It's incredibly important. They can try to gerrymander and rig it as much as they want, but if we show out and vote, guess what, too? There's a unique advantage to Democrats. Democrats turn out to vote more in midterms than Republicans do. So we have the upper hand here, and you need to turn out and vote. Because of MAGA, I will be voting blue. I was a conservative for over 30 years. I will never vote for any Republican for as long as I live because of MAGA. Zipping Lake, I'll tell you, it was incredibly awkward as somebody who was a conservative for most of his life. Okay, I was a conservative for a majority of my life. Going into the voting booth to vote for a Democrat in Texas, of all places, is incredibly awkward, okay? Because I feel like I'm watching the people around me going, yeah, they're definitely voting for Trump. So it was incredibly odd, but it was very rewarding going, you know what? I did the right thing. It felt good afterwards, right? It's not a difficult decision. We need to get people out there and get them to vote. I mean, right now, the way that the MAGA party is going, I keep telling people MAGA is not just consolidated to one individual. The MAGA party is an ideology. It's a movement that's going to stay for quite a while. It's not going to go away anytime soon, right? So when we look at Trump, Trump is just a figurehead in the movement. Okay, there's a lot of support around him, but I do believe that if J.D. Vance were to take over, J.D. Vance would now be the head of that party. MAGA will move because it's an ideology. By the way, speaking of MAGA, we saw a really wild thing take place late yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene got up in support of the victims of Epstein. I'll see if I believe I have it saved, so we'll talk about this on Saturday as well. But she actually specifically called out Trump, saying that this was a Democratic hoax, and she said, no, it's not. It is crazy to me to see Marjorie Taylor Greene on the rare instance support these victims. I want to shout out Isaiah Martin. Speaking of midterms, Isaiah Martin is running in Houston, Texas, in a very contentious district. I believe it's been gerrymandered because of Texas's districting maps. But Isaiah Martin's a good guy. Met him. Super cool. I think we need more young people in Congress, and he's definitely somebody that we would need in Congress. So if you're in the Houston area, you're in Isaiah Martin's district, please show this man some support. It looks like here he said, this is from Governor Kathy Hochul. I want every New York kid to have the fuel they need to succeed. Starting the school year, breakfast and lunch are free for all students. Isaiah Martin said, I want to introduce a bill to this nationwide. Lunch money will become a thing of the past, free. And I kind of agree with him. Now, obviously, some of the problems that might come up with this may be like, for example, how they would do this. I'm not entirely sure. I know we saw some initiatives from first ladies in the past, whether it be Obama's wife or I believe we even saw some of this with Bush's wife. But I think there's something that we definitely need. We need free school lunches for kids. There's no reason a child should go starving in school. MAGA turned the Republican Party into a cult. I'm not about cults. Yeah, no, 100% Spartacus. And that's kind of my issue I have right now with the Republican Party. The problem with the Republican Party is that they don't allow for any outside thought. The moment you go, I don't know how I feel about that, exiled immediately. The problem I have is, and the people I'm not in total agreement with, by the way, are the MAGA that are MAGA lights. And what they'll try to do is they'll try to make like a notion and saying, well, I didn't vote for Trump. I voted for, I would have voted for Romney. I would have voted for Vivek. It doesn't matter. See, the reality is that if you're still, there is a kind of dichotomy right now. If you voted, or if you didn't vote, kudos. But if you would have voted for Vivek, but you voted for a third party candidate, you're probably still MAGA. If you're somebody who voted Libertarian, you're probably still MAGA. So again, it's an assessment I make on a case-by-case basis. I usually ask a few questions and see, well, where do you lie on this? Can you name multiple policies of Trump's that you disagree with? What do you think about January 6th? These are some things we have to ask before I label somebody a MAGA. But there are people who recognize that the label that it comes with MAGA is a scarlet letter. And so they don't want to carry that around. So they'll say, well, I voted for Romney. But they really do support Trump. What ridiculous nonsense. You described the left-wing Democrat Party. The illusion of you people is unbelievable. Fantasy land. Good God, this is insane. Wow. A lot of nothing, AJ. Spartacus said, happens to me all the time in my Maha chat. They claim to be free speech, but the truth is they are only for speech they agree with 100%. And you'll see that their speech moves. I proposed a very interesting hypothetical to a group of MAGA people in TikTok debates. And one of the things I told them was, or one of the hosts said, hey guys, would you support us invading Venezuela? And they all said no. Watch what I did here. I said, okay. So the host said that. I said, okay, guys, let me ask you a different question. Let's say Venezuela were to go up to one of our vessels and just put a dent in the boat. No casualties, just a dent in the boat. Would you then support invading Venezuela? And they say yes. You see, the reality is that no such thing happens in such a broad instance, right? We don't just invade Venezuela just to invade Venezuela, right? All of this stuff takes place over time by a particular incident that pops off. And you see what ends up happening is that MAGA does not have a consistent set of principles, right? The reality is they don't have a line in the sand. That line in the sand moves with every single talking point of the MAGA movement. When the MAGA movement says, hey guys, here is our excuse, here's our talking point for why this was justified, they say, yeah, you're right. That was justified. That was 110% justified. We should absolutely invade Venezuela. Even though earlier you just said you were not for invading Venezuela. So this is why I say MAGA does not have a line in the sand. There is no line in the sand for MAGA. It always moves. January 6th happened every day in Oregon. I don't see you complaining about it. What do you mean January 6th happened every day in Oregon? Please explain. MAGA is a constant pivot. Exactly, Spartacus. There is a business owner that's pushing the idea that we need to increase the unemployment rate drastically. The idea that workers should just be happy to have a job. That's insane. That's absolutely insane, to be honest with you. I probably need to get ready to get in chat here, voice chat with let me see here. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll join in like 10 minutes prior. But yeah, guys. So we saw that. Let's keep going through the news. What was some of the other news we had going on? More stuff. Oh, there was this. So Donald Trump hosted a dinner with all these different tech billionaires. You can see Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. You can just see a whole bunch of those. I'm going to go through ASIN stuff real quick. Let's see. Oh, do you plan to speak with Putin in the near future? And Trump said, what? If you're going to speak with President Putin in the near future. And that's what, so this is the crazy thing, right? This is the crazy thing. Look who's saying this. Melania Trump heard exactly what it was, but Donald Trump himself couldn't hear a word about it. Let's see. What are some other things here? There are some other things that came up. By the way, a lot of this thing is crazy. I don't know if the president can just unilaterally rename the Department of Defense. So let's find out. Can president change the Department of Defense name without Congress? Wouldn't be the first time. No, the president cannot legally change the name of the Department of Defense without Congress. Changing the name of the department is an official act that requires legislative action, meaning an amendment to the act of Congress that established the department, which falls to Congress to pass. So Donald Trump trying to go in and just continue to be like, hey, executive order. By the way, I looked this up. I thought this was really interesting. Donald Trump has signed over, I think, 192 executive orders just this year. Y'all. 192. Joe Biden, by the way, fun fact, guys. Joe Biden ended up signing over 162 over 4 years. Let me repeat that. Donald Trump in the past 8 months has signed 192 executive orders. Joe Biden over his past 4 terms signed 162 within 4 years. Let that sink in. That is insane. Insane. Departments are created, named and stuff by Congress, same way Doge was never actually a department. That is true, Wes. Right? They had to revamp a former technology department or something to rename it to Doge, if I'm not mistaken. Trump is running the country like a reality show and not a business, 100%. And that's the kind of vibe we got from the RFK Jr. testimony, by the way. The RFK Jr. testimony was pretty wild. He didn't, like I said, he didn't know his budget numbers. He didn't know anything about it. And I kept getting this vibe that a lot of the people in this administration are there for notoriety, maybe to help pump up their, wallets. They don't know a thing. They're more concerned about the limelight. The most notorious example is Kristi Noem, right? Kristi Noem changing her costume every single time she's at a different location, riding on the horse into the sunset. They're more concerned about the camera. But Pete Hegseth, Jeanine Pirro, they're constantly on Fox. Constantly. Why is janitor's signature stamped for Biden? I don't know what you're talking about, Doc Ron. If you're talking about auto pen, guess what? Donald Trump has used numerous auto pens. Clout, they want clout. That is certainly probably what it is. Zippy Link. Spartacus, we can lick Trump's boots, they get a job. Well, and the problem I have, and I'm getting a little too close to the sun here, is that, again, the ones Biden signed, was that with the auto pen? There were some that I'm sure he signed, and there were some that I'm sure were done by auto pen, just like Donald Trump has signed stuff with the auto pen. It's not different. Alexander Pirro also on Fox and That's true. That's true. There was also, I saw some grand jury cases, by the way. MAGA got real upset because somebody had threatened, a high rating figure, I'll put it that way. And they could not secure an indictment. Could not secure an indictment. This is a running theme with this administration. And there is a judge that ruled today that this administration possibly is trying to cook the books. She made that suggestion from the bench, where they are going in and arresting these individuals based on extremely loose evidence, only to then release them afterwards and drop the charges. How might that play into these stats? Oh, that's right, because then they can go out and say, we arrested X amount of individuals for this particular crime. Remember what I told you guys before? They're playing with the way that they talk about these stats. Remember, I said when Caroline Leavitt says that there has been 0 people released from ICE, or 0 people that released from ICE custody, they try to inflate that to mean there's been 0 border crossings. She is correct. There's been 0 released from ICE custody, but it does not mean there's been 0 border crossings. It's the exact same thing that I believe is happening right now in D.C. You see, in D.C. right now, they're arresting these individuals, but are they securing a conviction? Remember, this is the problem I have. Honestly, I do have this problem with the way that we are handling our justice system right now. 2 things, actually. One is that a lot of people still look at this system as if it's guilty until proven innocent. Let's remind people here, first of all. Just because you're arrested for a crime does not mean you are guilty. Okay? First and foremost. It still needs to be securing a conviction. Right? The other thing that people have forgotten about is that we have multiple people in states like the mayor, city council, We have governors, state legislatures, but people keep focusing because of the way that Donald Trump has handled things on just one person. We do this with governors all the time. They'll blame Governor Pritzker or maybe even a mayor, quite frankly. But they don't look at state legislators and say there's a person behind that has to push the levers. Big Pharma is a scam, and everyone in Congress and the Senate should be impeached. Who took money? And I'm talking both sides. And Trump even said, I never used an auto pen unless it's for a letter. Okay, so then you're going to tell me then Donald Trump signed all 1,600 pardons for January 6th. Okay. Thank you. Then let me know that. That's great. So again, and we can go and look at the fact that Donald Trump is not going to sign every single one. If you want to talk about the fact of Donald Trump, and his executive orders that he's also looked at, he also has to have somebody that is sitting there. Sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to get into the voice chat. We can also look at the fact that Donald Trump has to have somebody read the executive orders out to him. Why does he need to do that? He should already know what's in it. And I think that's problematic if that's the first time he's hearing about it. And you can always tell just by looking at him that it's kind of the first time he's hearing about it. It's just the mannerisms he has. And you can pick any of them out and you'll see it. But anyways, so yeah, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on right now. But he knows about them, not sleeping in a recliner while someone else does what they want. That's funny, John. Do you have any evidence to suggest that Joe Biden was sitting in a recliner, not signing these executive orders, and that someone else was signing these executive orders and they had no knowledge? Do you have any evidence of that? Because I don't believe you. John Cash said Epstein's birthday book wasn't an auto pen. Someone had to write that. Okay, John, how do you think it gets done? Do you think Trump pushes the button at the machine every time he can designate authority? Exactly, Zipping Link. You really think Joe Biden knew what was going on? I don't know. You tell me. You're making the claim. If you make the claim, you have to own it, right? You're making the affirmative. I can just say it didn't happen. That's how this works. But we all know MAGA doesn't typically have a lot of facts on their side. They have a lot of emotions, and that's something that is, in my opinion, has shifted. Right? What has ended up happening is we're seeing now where MAGA cares more about feelings over facts. They don't care about facts, quite frankly. They appeal to emotion quite often. We saw this, for example, with the kid who had brain cancer that was up on the at the speech when Trump first got into office. We saw them naming a immigration bill called the Laken Riley Act, which, by the way, think about this. Can you name more than, let's say, 5 victims of immigrants? If you can't, that might be a hint that you're appealing to emotion, that you're utilizing these poor innocent children as a means to push your political agenda. It's pretty gross. As am I. One can designate authority to use said credentials to sign documents when others can't. Yeah, the left uses rational thought and no emotion. No, I'm using facts. Nothing I say does not have any kind of fact. The emotion I have, the inflection I have, sure, can convey my frustration with hearing about these facts. But everything I am spewing is backed up by stuff that I have either read, stuff that I have seen, or stuff that I have heard myself. These are facts. If you disagree with these facts, you're more than welcome to present your set of facts. But it's very interesting because all I have seen so far is these individuals in my chat who have no facts on their side. MAGA has always been emotional and reactionary in their feelings. Their accusations are confessions with a snowflake, and facts don't care about your feelings stuff. Well, that was the funny thing too, Wes, right? We remember the facts don't care about your feelings until they did care about their feelings. Exactly. Facts don't care about your feelings, MAGA. They just do not care. If something looks bad, it's probably because it is bad. Right? That's not me. Like, if I'm sitting here explaining to you why it's problematic that the U.S. took a unilateral strike on a boat in the middle of international waters, and you don't like that, again, I'm basing that on the fact that I'm essentially accusing this administration of violating maritime law. Again, what is that based on? It's based on, if you look at, I believe it's the, not EU, NATO. If you look at NATO, they talk about this, which we follow NATO pretty strongly when it comes to maritime law. Now, I'll admit I'm not an attorney by any stretch of the means, so I'm willing to admit that maybe my legal understanding of this was a little skewed. If it is, present it to me then. Until then, I will continue to spout that NATO says that this is something that should only have been done in a defensive posture. Yes, he did. He waved his hand and said they're all parted and it didn't have to be individually. Okay. With friends like this, who needs enemies, right? Gaines, how do we know who is here legally and not unless we push due process? And this is kind of the problem with the MAGA movement right now. They will sit there and racially profile 110%. They have no idea what status these people are. They'll see them at all sorts of events. And they'll go on and say, well, that person is an undocumented migrant. I'll go, how do you know they're an undocumented migrant? That's all, folks. So it's pretty crazy to see that going on. Guys, even on my side, I really, really need you guys to chill out on some of these. Jersey Mike, I'm sure you've been here before, man, but I got to like kick that message down. Please keep it TOS appropriate. I hope Trump was in the office 2 days this weekend, and you guys, where were you inviting? Wouldn't be around. What? Gans, I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. If you're talking about the rhetoric around where Donald Trump went this past month, illegal immigrant not documented. Okay. And see, again, cruelty is the punishment here. And I'd be willing to bet that if I were to get into your thoughts, that you would probably sit there and say that, you know, and this kind of summarizes kind of the MAGA movement and what they have done, right? We can look back at Tom Homan sitting there kind of implying at least that undocumented migrants were somehow criminals. We could go back to that quote from Donald Trump, I believe it was, that talked about the migrants that are coming here are, you know, murderers and rapists and all those other things. We can certainly talk about that. But the goal is to dehumanize it so that when they do rip that mother away from their child, when they do that you guys say it's justified. I look at that mother being ripped away from her child and I ask questions of what did she do? Did that mother who sat there and she's worrying about her child, did she commit any other crime for other than just simply crossing the border? Is that it? Is that what we're going to do? Or are we going to look at it and go, hey, look, you've been a contributing member of society. You've not had a ticket. You've not had any kind of criminal record whatsoever as you've been in this country. You have been a contributing member of society. How long have you been here? Oh, you've been here 10 years and you've paid taxes. You've paid property taxes. And we're going to deport that individual? Sounds like a contributing member of society, not a person who is not a contributing member of society. Hell, for that matter, do they even have potential insurance at all? I don't know. But again, these are things that we have to consider when we talk about deporting individuals. Is I have a little bit of humanity behind me. And there is a little bit of emotion behind that. Sure. I'm willing to admit that. But I do think there is a good emotional response when we're talking about potentially deporting mothers from their children. All right. I think we're ready, guys. So yeah, guys, let me get this pulled in here real quick. I'm going to get this sorted out. We will be debating Andrew Wilson and Snake Guard, I think is what his name is, TV, who is, I think, a co-host with Andrew Wilson. And then we're also going to have Corbin. I will be partnered up with Corbin Sayles, Sayles. Go check him out. Definitely give him a like. Let me go ahead and jump into this real quick. I'm going to go into the waiting room here. Let me go back to my one cam here for a minute. It's the law. Tell Congress. What Congress? What Congress? This guy talking on the microphone. I wonder how you'd like somebody to enter his home, sit down on his couch, watching TV, eat out of the refrigerator. Would you welcome him in there? I bet you wouldn't. Well, it depends on who you are. Are you a follower of Christ or are you not a follower of Christ? Is someone, and what are the circumstances? Are they busting down my door and with a potential firearm? What are the circumstances around this individual? If this person knocks on my door and they don't seem to be, you know, a problem. Sure, come on, sit on down. Let's have a drink. Are they a neighbor of mine? There's somebody who is sitting next door that I've known for a while. You know, Is this, again, the idea that somebody's just going to bust down your door is just a silly hypothetical. Yeah, exactly, Wes. And that, again, this is part of the line of thinking when it comes to dehumanization. Let me go ahead and make sure my settings are straightened here. I think they are. I am on push to talk. That's going to get difficult, but that's fine. I'll go into the waiting room. Let me go ahead and set this up real quick for you guys. I have no idea what is going to happen, but it's going to be a pretty good night, y'all. So now you're going to stick up for the Venezuelan terrorists entering our waters. There it is. There it is, Gans. There it is. Doing the MAGA trope. So again, it's crazy to me. Waiting for everybody to get in here. We got about 5 more minutes till this debate starts. I know that I'm excited about this. I hope you guys are excited about it. We are going to be talking about, is Trump consolidating power? Is Trump consolidating power? And in my opinion, we'll go over that. We'll talk about that in the introduction. But I think y'all probably know where I lie. No, they're not knocking on your door. Your door's not locked. They open it and enter. What's up, Mariah? What's going on, Mariah, darling? Welcome in. Hey, guys, listen, as you're coming in here, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. We are in the waiting room right now, ready to be pulled in. Once we get that going, we will go ahead and I will not be able to focus on chat near as much. I'm going to try to ignore chat. Listen, guys, I have Spartacus in here. I know Spartacus has already heard about it. He's with Tom as well. So I'm going to need some of my chat to really do a lot of, or my mods to really hold it down a little bit. I don't know what we're going to get, but I'm not going to be able to address chat much once it goes in. So I'll try to address it as much as I can. Wes, I'm so sorry people keep coming into your house. That's weird, right? That's weird. Why are people just walking into your house? We've seen what you people do when they drop them off at your front door. Remember Martha Vineyard? They had an auditor in there for 20 minutes. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about the fact that Republicans were shipping off migrants, using them as political tools. Talking about that one? That's certainly what it looked like. This guy claims to be a Christian, but yet even Jesus did give to Caesar. What is Caesar? It's against the law to enter a sovereign country. I wish you the best there, man. Okay. Again, if we look at Christ's teachings, Christ took in a whole bunch of different individuals who were outcasts of society. Again, so if you want to try to label these individuals as outcasts, go ahead. But anyways, so exhausted. Yeah, I agree, Ryan. Way to get brought in. Once we get brought in, we'll start debating this topic. It's going to be pretty good. I got 2 cups, boys. Guess I get a little dry, a little thirsty. Look, I got a little bit of red, a little bit of blue. There's Corbin. All right, hold on 1 second, guys. What's going on, Corbin? I'm live, by the way, buddy. Just heads up. Ooh, you're a little low. Hold on.
You said I'm low?
Yeah, it might be me. Hold on.
Hold on. Let me double check.
No, I think it's me. I got like 15 wires.
Oh, yeah, I just turned it up. It's killing my microphone. Ugh, jeez.
Uh-oh. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out something here. Say something real quick.
Hello.
Okay, perfect. We're good. It was feeding. I have voice meter banana, and so it was feeding your voice into my microphone setting, but we're all good. So
thanks.
I'm surprised. What was that?
Who's supposed to be here tonight? Connor, I think I saw. Am I in his place?
Yep, you're in his place. You got big shoes to fill.
Nice. Yeah. Did you see my interview with Connor and Riley?
I did actually. That's what.
Oh, nice.
That's what shocked me. I was like, "Oh man, you got a whole bunch of people." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah,
I didn't know it was like a couple of weeks ago either. I thought that was like initially when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that had been an older one." I didn't realize that they were all in the same room together. That was pretty cool.
What can I say, man? I'm a networking genius.
I was gonna say that's pretty.
No, that was mostly Connor, because he and I had a conversation a little while before that, and then I think we were in DC at the same time, And I mentioned, hey, do you want to do like an IRL thing? And he was like, yeah, sure. So eventually, initially it was going to be one-on-one, but then he roped in Dylan and Riley. So yeah,
that's crazy. Hold on one second. There we go. Let me see something. Okay. Yeah, no, that's crazy. I was really hoping, like, it was when Tom reached out to me, I was kind of like, sure. And so I was like, I'll go ahead and do it. I have no problem doing it. Especially with Connor there. So, and I've been on.
I'm not as strong as of debate god as Connor, but I'll do my best.
Well, you were. I saw that you do some TikTok panels and stuff, huh?
Yeah. Those are always.
That's
those
crazy.
Are always a lot of fun. Yeah, I've debated all sorts of people in there.
What's your? If you don't mind me asking, what's your? And I am streaming, but what's your username on there? If you don't mind me asking.
It's Corbin Sayles.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say
it's all attached to my YouTube.
I was gonna say because I actually primary place I go to for debates and stuff like that on TikTok. I actually do a lot with mainly Mojo and Los. Those two. I don't know if you're familiar with the TikTok.
I have no idea who that
is. A TikTok politics scene is quite interesting to say the least. It is extremely. It kind of reminds me of the old Twitch poll days when there wasn't a whole lot of there was a lot of normies that were kind of coming in. And I like that.
Yeah, but it also skews, I think, a lot younger. Well, I don't know, like how young did like Twitch poll? How young was like that demographic?
It depends. So like the demographic that like we had. So I came on a Twitch poll scene in 2019, technically, and at that time, it was me. Killer Steven and Mindwaves and Demon Machine. I don't want to forget about Demon Machine. All of those characters were, I want to say, mid to late.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, Mindwaves was younger. I was obviously younger at that time, 6 years younger, so I was about 24. And then Killer Steven and Demon Machine, I believe, were in their mid to late 30s, if not a little older.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, did you mean the audience is skewing younger, or the pundits are skewing younger?
Oh, the pundits were older. The audiences, I don't know about the audiences, quite frankly, if they were a little bit older or younger.
I think the Twitch audience probably skews pretty young, right? Like it's primarily a gaming platform, right?
It was. So the funny thing about it was the way I got my start on Twitch poll was because I was a part of the community, the Twitch gaming community. And when I was a part of that community, they kept telling me, do not talk politics. And I'm like, well, then if you're telling me not to, and that's the generic rule,
have to do it, right? Yeah.
You have to do it, right? It's like, that means there's a void. So that's when I started doing a few of those things. And I forgot how I got in touch with Killer Steven. I think it's because he came on my stream at one point or something. And we all kind of got together and we noticed that there was a lot of people in the bigger spaces. So at the time, there was really you had Raj Royale.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, so he would do a lot of politics stuff, but it was very here and there. He was super big. And then you had kind of the medium content creators that were pulling about 500 to 1,000 viewers. And those were your Destinies, Hassans, Mike from PA, things of that nature. And then...
Didn't Destiny have a huge audience on Twitch, though?
He did. So that's what I'm saying. It was 500 to 1,000 at a time. It might have been a little more, but I nonetheless, it was still what I would call, well, you're probably right. I think the larger ones were Hassan and Destiny. And then
he had 700,000 active followers at one point on there, right?
Yeah, it was quite a bit before he got banned. And then you had your medium creators I think her name was Bad Bunny. I don't remember her name. And then you had Mike from PA, Lucid Fox. There's a few other people I can remember. They were kind of pulling about 100 to 500 viewers. But there was a lot of people that were kind of on the bottom tier, right? That was not really interacting with the larger tier. And so we kind of came up with this system. We said, well, hey, what if we pass the flagpole to each person? And we go, hey, we'll put together a panel. You put together a panel 1 week. And then you put together a panel 1 week. Well, me and Killer Steven only did that for about a month. And then Mindwaves ended up doing it, and then he ended up just carrying the torch, and then that just ballooned up. Mindwaves did that, and then he brought on a few different people who broke off and did their own panels. And then you saw the kind of...
I'm trying to remember that guy. I know the name. I definitely know the name. I'm trying to remember what was like some big panels he hosted. Would I know any?
Man, they're from like 20, like I say 2020, like it's a long time ago. But it was from, I think he did a lot from 2020. Oh, what's going on, Tom?
Hello.
Oh my God, what's
Nothing.
up, Tom?
Corbin,
Tom,
you need to get a profile picture, homie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, are we not doing face cam?
Well, yes, you guys are doing face cams, but normally I have the what do you call it? The little Discord logos up on top as well. So
I got a camera.
I was for the last debate to like wrap that up with the audience. It like I was surprised that Destiny didn't at the beginning like say anything about Rob's like definition and the way that he said he was going to come to the conclusion on whether or not Obama engaged in lawfare. And I was surprised that if Rob admits that there's no real evidence that Obama engaged in lawfare, but that he does have evidence that somebody in the administration engaged in lawfare, then there were two prompts. Did Obama engage in lawfare? And is Trump lying about it? So if to Destiny, I would have said, okay, if you're going to take the W on this one, then I'll take the W on the fact that like Trump's lying about everything attached to Obama, and that because obviously when it comes to like the legality of it, Obama wouldn't be attached to this. But that is the claim that they're making with a grand jury indictment, is trying to get Obama and Lynch attached to this. So, all right, give me just a second. I just finished a 3-hour debate, and I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. So if you guys will get your cam set up, you are on my stream real quick. Please do not talk about the topic, okay? I'll be right back.
I'll try not to. What's up, Andrew and Rattlesnake? Nope.
Trying to butter us up for the debate, boy? Is that what's going on here?
Yep. Absolutely.
I knew it.
Actually, I'm a big fan, man. I watched all of your whatever debates. Those are a lot of fun.
I like them. See, I knew there was going to be some buttering up. I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, man. I gotta glaze, so you go a little bit easy on me, okay? I'm still new to debates. All right.
Sounds like that sounds like something an evil villain says who wants me to take him less seriously than I should.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm setting a trap for you. No, I am a fan of you in debates. I like your style of debate. Are we doing face cams now? So I know Andrew. What happened to Rattlesnake? Do we lose him? I guess so.
I don't know where he went.
Okay, there we go. All right. Andrew, can you give me a sound check real quick?
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, you're a little low. All right, go again.
Turn me up, Tom. Testing.
There you
1,
go.
2, 3, 4.
Perfect. All right, Corbin.
What's up? Am I good?
Can you go again?
Am I good?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Jake, how's it going, man? Can you give me a sound check real quick, please?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on the wrong mic. You are definitely on like a webcam mic.
That should be better.
Yes, that's much better. Yes. Okay, perfect. And then Vince.
Have you used this Discord before?
Vince, I don't hear you at all.
Right here. Sorry.
Does anybody else hear him? Because he's turning green.
I have my mute. I have I have a soundboard and I'm going back and forth.
That was really weird. Yeah, every time you moved your mouse. Okay. All right. Everybody sounds good on my end. All right. Do me a favor. Try not to turn off your cams or anything. I have everybody's cams set up on like separate blocks on my side. So if you do have to like get up or go anywhere, just try to leave the cam on because it'll shift everything on my end. Let's see. And then everybody good for like 2-minute opening statements. We'll do every other. Okay. And yeah, I don't have anything after this. So I said 2 to 3 hours. The last one, apparently they wanted to do another fucking 5-hour debate. That was Destiny versus Rob.
You got 2 hours from me, Tom.
Okay, 2 hours. All right. So I will point that out. Okay. And then, so the topic or let me make sure I have the exact wording up again.
All right, we should be good.
It is.
Camera's a little funky, but that's okay.
Is Trump taking power that would normally? Oh, sorry, that's not the. Is Trump centralizing power, and is that good or bad? So we're asking: is Trump taking power from other parts of the government that would generally be for other parts and not the executive? And if so, sometimes they might agree that the executive should have more power, and so then you can have a conversation about whether or not that should be the case. So we'll go ahead and start opening statements, and we'll do every other. So we'll just go across the screen and start with Andrew. 2 minutes, sir.
Oh,
you're
muted.
You're muted, Andrew.
Already. All right, so I'll make it short and sweet. A thing I hear often is that Trump's a dictator, he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, he's evil, he's mean, he's blah, 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 blah. He's a threat to our very democracy. When pushed on these claims, though, progressive scumbags usually talk about tariffs. That's usually what they do. Like, well, I don't like tariffs and stupid shit like that. They never actually tell us how he's a Nazi, fascist, dictator, evil, centralized power, wants to have a fourth term, third, and sixth term. I never actually hear any of the reasons. Instead of telling us all how Trump is an evil authoritarian dictator, they bring up everything except how he is one. And I doubt the debate tonight will be any different. Our opponents actually want to say he's so bad they can taste it. They want to say he's a fascist so bad they can taste it. They want to say he's an evil authoritarian dictator so bad they can taste it. But they're not going to because they can't, because they're full of shit. And even though they probably said this, by the way, 1 million times on their channels, I bet you we go to both their channels, we'll hear the word fascist, dictator, Nazi, I bet you we'll hear all that shit. And the one place we're not going to hear it is here tonight, though. That's I bet you we won't hear it tonight. Because when the rubber meets the road, they fall flat every single time. So tonight's debate is on if Trump is centralizing power, if that's a good thing or not a good thing. I don't see how he's centralizing power. He basically has what's afforded to him by Article 2 of the Constitution and some legislation after that, like the Patriot Act, both of which he had nothing to do with. Many of the other legislative powers that he would have, he doesn't actually have anything to do with. They were there before he ever came into office. He complies with the Supreme Court of the United States. He often fights with the lower courts, which presidents tend to do, and he has every right to do so. So I've never really heard a compelling case for this supposed accumulation of power beyond his office. Checks and balances are still in place. There isn't a constitutional crisis last time I looked. So what these guys are talking about, I have no idea. But what they're not actually going to be talking about is how he's centralizing power. They're going to key in on points which are completely irrelevant. But not to worry, guys. I'm going to bring it right back to this. I promise you.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Corbin.
Well, there's a lot of different aspects, I guess, of Trump's authoritarianism that you could talk about. I kind of want to key in on specifically, I think, the erosion of federal and state powers under his administration, whether it be through things like the federalization of the National Guard in LA or quid pro quos with Eric Adams to enact his agenda on immigration. That's kind of the area I wanted to focus on today. I'm not as keened in on tariffs or whether or not Trump has the ability to enact those. That's kind of a separate question. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the main points I want to hit on is how he's trying to enact federal law on on a state level.
All right. Awesome. Jake, 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much for having me today, Tom Fuller. It's good to see you. It's even good to be here with the Libs today. It's good to see you guys too, Libs.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So I am not American. I'm Australian. I don't exactly live in Britain. I don't exactly live and breathe the politics, but from an outside point looking in, I think that Trump is doing actually a really good job. The idea that he's some sort of authoritarian is nonsense, and I'm looking forward to getting into some definitions of what exactly you guys mean by authoritarian. What I see is a leader doing what he was elected to do, essentially. I mean, taking back the power from entrenched elites, NGOs, and bureaucrats who are never chosen by the people. Few quick points. I mean, Trump doesn't necessarily look to me as though he's consolidating power anywhere near the levels that his critics claim, especially with claims like fascist and authoritarian and the likes. He's cutting down on bureaucracies that run the country without accountability. Under Biden, elected officials were making the big decisions. That's the real deep state. So Trump is just following through on campaign promises to dismantle it. To the extent that he's consolidating power, I don't think there's anything unusual. Every president does this, and I feel as though the leftists do this just as much, and they're just grumpy because they're not really used to seeing Republicans do this. And the third one, I'd say, to the extent if you guys can bring up some examples, and if you guys can convince us that he is consolidating power in various different areas, then I would like to see why that's wrong and why that's actually a bad thing, particularly in terms of the border. I mean, I think that the gentleman before me brought up that one, so that will be an interesting one to go into. And as somebody from the great land of Australia down under, and who's travelled the world a lot, I will say this. Countries like mine, the UK, and much of Europe have been wrecked by weak borders and liberal globalist policies. And America is somewhat of the last frontier, as I see it. If Trump succeeds, he actually sets an example that the Western world desperately needs. So I don't think he's a dictator in the making. I think he's doing what the left has been doing and has done for themselves. And the only difference is this time it's not on their terms. So with that, I'll get on to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And then also, Corbin, double check your mic. I'm not positive that you're on the wrong mic, but you might be. And then Vince, go ahead. Right 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. So has Donald Trump consolidated power? Let's keep focus on this. This is at the core of the debate right now, not whether or not necessarily Donald Trump is, in fact, an authoritarian, whether or not he is a fascist. That is the topic of the debate. So has Donald Trump consolidated power? The answer is absolutely yes, through emergency powers, lawsuits, and even threats of military force. Trump has pushed the boundaries of executive authority. His intentions were clear when he stated, "I have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States." Each time power shifts away from Congress and the courts, we inch closer to authoritarian rule. Notice what I said, inch closer to authoritarian rule. A system where one man makes the laws and is accountable to no one but himself. That's it.
Sorry, is my mic okay now? Or
yeah, it sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on my mobile mic. It's kind of crappy. I don't have my regular one with me right now.
No problem. So yeah, for the most part, I'll let you guys lead the conversation. If there's parts that I want to clarify, please allow me to jump in for a minute and just clarify things. Sometimes for you guys, sometimes for the audience, sometimes just for myself because I'm not all that right. But with you guys having the claim, I will let Vince go ahead and jump us off.
Sure. Andrew, you said that Trump did not defy the Supreme Court. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what higher court rulings have been issued by the Supreme Court, which he's defying?
Well, I'm asking you. You said he did not defy the Supreme Court. So what do you mean by he has not defied the Supreme Court? What are you saying by that?
To my knowledge, the Supreme Court has not issued any rulings in which he is not complying with.
Great. So what about Abrego Garcia? When I believe on April 10th, the Supreme Court ruled they needed to facilitate the return of the administration, and then the administration then dragged their feet, ignoring Judge Paul Zinnes, to return them. And it was not until June 6th, months later, that they ended up returning Abrego Garcia, after they said that they had tried and dragged their feet saying they would. It took Judge Zinnes multiple times telling them they needed to facilitate the return, and they did not facilitate the return. So would you agree then on that case that he defied the Supreme Court?
I'm really confused. Hang on, I'm really confused. It sounded like you just said the guy was returned.
Oh, so wait, but the original claim is that he did not defy the Supreme Court, right?
I'm confused how he defied the Supreme Court when he returned the guy.
Gotcha. So then he did not defy the Supreme Court initially. Then is what you're saying, then, right? So you would acknowledge that he.
So all branches of government have various processes in which they go down, right? And there was a process which was involved with this. They went through the process and then they complied with the Supreme Court and returned him.
What was the process here? Judge Zinnes said to return him, and they did not. Did they not?
Yeah, it seems like it was after the
They
fact.
did, didn't they? Didn't they return him?
It was after the
Didn't they, in fact, return him? Didn't they, in fact, return him?
Didn't they defy the Supreme Court? Did they not defy the Supreme Court?
Answer my question.
Answer my question.
Return the guy
did
or
they
not?
Defy the, did they?
As soon as you answer mine,
as soon as you answer mine, I'll answer
my question.
You can't answer my question. You said after, and I called you out on it.
They didn't defy him.
You said
no,
they didn't defy him.
No, they didn't defy. No.
So Andrew Wilson is redefining how we're talking about defying the Supreme Court.
Oh, okay, great. Now can you answer my question? Did they return him?
Them returning it does not change or negate
Did
the fact
they return? Yes or no? Remember how I said no? Yes or no?
It's not a yes or
Did
no.
they return him or not?
It's not a yes or no answer. I can go ahead and say.
Oh my God! Answer the question, you stupid loser! Fuck! Answer my fucking question. Yes or no? Did they return him? Did they return him?
Is try to start with a yes or no, and then give the explanation after.
I don't want it. Here's what I don't want in this debate. I don't want mealy mouth bullshit. Just answer the fucking questions, and I'll answer yours. That's how a debate should work. Now answer my fucking question. Did they return the guy or not?
Yes. But that doesn't change the fact that they defied the Supreme Court.
Eventually.
Yes, exactly. That's the problem here. And that Andrew, when he realized, because he sat here and said initially that we're not going to bring any examples. Once I brought an example, he got scared and realized, oh, I have to pivot to say, well, they eventually brought him back, but it doesn't change the fact that they defied the Supreme Court. They initially defied it, and you were proven wrong immensely when I said that. You weren't prepared for a Supreme facts, were you, Andrew?
So they went through the process and then they went with the Supreme Court.
They went through the process and then returned him. Oh my God, constitutional crisis. Holy shit, what an authoritarian dictator. You got me, bro.
It was after. It was after.
Shit.
It was after the Supreme Court.
I quit this debate. Oh my God.
It was after the Supreme Court
destroyed. Fucking idiot. They returned him. They went through a process.
Yes,
that's how it works.
He's trying to redefine how define works. Do we need to pull up the definition of define, Andrew?
Yeah, pull up the definition.
Well, I think at this point, we would have to say that.
Give me a definition for definition.
Like, Vince, you're saying that they defied the courts for a time and then eventually abided by the court order. Correct, Vince?
Sure. But the question was, Andrew
so they ultimately abided by the order.
Sure,
ultimately,
exactly.
But they initially defied the Supreme Court.
Defied the court. Yeah, so you're saying for that period of time, what was it, 2-3 months that you're saying they defied the courts for that period of time. And Andrew's saying, okay, they eventually got it. So Andrew, do you agree that they defied the courts for a period of time?
Yeah, I think that when you have court rulings especially, and new court rulings especially, there's usually a process for compliance. So this will happen on every level of government, whether or not this is executive branch or not. There's going to be a process in which to comply. And I think they went through a process for compliance with that ruling. They wanted to exhaust all of their avenues on it. I would do the same exact thing if I was an executive. When they couldn't exhaust anymore, they followed through with what the order was. This is how branches of government work. I don't know what's wrong with you, bro. That's how they work.
Yeah, the way it works is that when someone sits there and a judge says to bring them back and they drag their feet after numerous times of being told to bring them back. And by the way that they were arguing this was they were arguing on the case of saying that this is facilitate. And so they argued on that merit alone. But the problem is they continued to drag their feet. So again, you want to pivot off with it? That's fine. We could talk about the judicial injunctions if you like, about how they're defying those injunctions, namely the Harvard Research Grant funding, federal grant and loans frozen, tariffs under the International Emergency Economics Power Act. We can talk about that, which is a big theme of this administration.
You're just reading your talking points. Let me bring up the next point then. I'll bring up the next point since we gave you guys the first. You're not going to engage on that, are you? Okay, let's go on to the next point. Go ahead. Yeah, hang on. We'll get back to it. But don't you think it's fair that if you get a point to bring up, that we can bring up a point as well? And it was something which
I'd like you to address my point, but if you want to, go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, you brought up what happened in the LA riots as part of your point for authoritarianism. This is
I did,
Corbin.
Or who would?
Can you?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Corbin, whose name is not yours. So anyway, Corbin, you brought this up as though this was some authoritarian act by the Trump administration. Are you aware, like we watched those riots every single night on sometimes as many as 15, 20 cameras at a time, watching what was going on, watching the... Am I even allowed to finish?
No, because again, I think this is hysterical. Andrew, I just called Andrew out on 3 other particular issues, and Andrew just totally pivoted over to the LA riots. This is hysterical.
Let him ask his question first. Let him ask his question first. Let him ask his question.
Let me. Yeah, let Andrew.
I mean, are you sure? It seems that the Vince is very upset that we're allowed to have points and he's allowed to have points. I'm sorry about that.
I asked
Vince.
you
but
to
anyway,
address my points that you are running away from.
Did I not?
Why are you running away from them?
Did I not tell you that we would come? Did I not tell you that we could come right back to this? You get a point, we get a point. Isn't that fair?
But it works where you address my point.
Isn't that fair?
Okay, that's fine. Run away, Andrew. Go ahead. Run away, Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
okay,
Run away.
Great. So, okay. Run away from this point, Vince. You're just running away. You're just filibustering, making sure that your partner can't ever respond because you're a fucking coward.
You're running away from Corbin, addressing the point because you're afraid of actually engaging with the facts of the case. Because you don't like engaging with the facts.
Rudely interrupted by your dork of a debate partner. I would like to have you actually address this. So we were watching these on the cams each night. And we saw that the police were clearly standing down. They were not enforcing the order of law. We come to find out later that there was many NGOs which were funding these riots, many NGOs. In fact, the whole thing was funded by NGOs, especially their famous Day of Rage. Why is it that you think that Trump shouldn't have sent in the Marines in order to bring law and order back to Los Angeles when this was going on? Why?
Well,
doesn't that seem like it's well within the purview? Hang on. Let me finish the question. I'm almost done. Don't you think that's well within the purview of the executive under Article 2?
No. So specifically, the reason that I said it was an example of an erosion between state and federal power is Trump was federalizing the National Guard at behest of the head of the state, that being Governor Newsom, when he didn't have the authority to. It violated that.
He does have the authority to federalize.
Well, Section 12406 that he cited in his executive order to try and federalize the National Guard states explicitly that those powers shall be granted through the governor of the state, that being Newsom. And Newsom felt like the National Guard wasn't needed in that instance.
The National Guard is, they are GIs. They are government issue. It is true that the state can deploy them, but ultimately they serve the behest of the president of the United States.
No, they're state police. They belong to the state. They're under the purview of the governor.
Oh, okay. So the federal government can't mobilize the National Guard for the purpose of war, and neither can the president. Is that correct?
Well, they can, but there has to be a process for it. There has those powers. Under Section 12406, under Section 12406 that Trump cited in his executive order as to why he had the ability to federalize the National Guard and deploy them to LA, states explicitly that those powers shall be granted through the governor of the state. And Gavin Newsom did not give Trump consent to federalize the National Guard.
He doesn't need consent. He's the commander in chief. He can send in the Marines if he wants.
Okay, but under that statute.
So what you're saying
under
is
that exact statute,
I'm actually going to grant this. So I'm actually going to grant that there was a process error here. Let's just grant it for the sake of it and say that you're right, that there's a process error. Trump is the commander. Trump is the commander. Hang on. Calm down, bro. Calm down. I'll grant the argument. Okay, you're going to slow down. All right, go ahead.
I've let you speak a lot.
Go ahead.
The reason. Wait. Fuck, I lost my train. Never mind. Do your thing. I lost my train of thought.
Are you sure? Okay, see, you should just let me finish, bro. I would have let you have all the time in the world to talk. So anyway, the point here is that, yes, Trump is a commander in chief. So when I look at Article 2, I mean, he can broadly do what he wants with the military. I mean, he can pretty broadly do that. Him sending in the National Guard, him sending in the Marine Corps, I think he did have executive authority to do. Not only that, I'm not even sure that if I were to grant to you that there was some process error here, how that would necessarily be him accumulating power to himself. Even if there was a process error, that doesn't seem like an accumulation of centralizing authority. The president already is the commander in chief. Already.
Well, I don't know if I would categorize it as a processing error. I would say it's a direct violation of the statute that he himself cited as to having power to deploy the National Guard.
Do you think that Trump himself sat down in an office and read through all of this? Or do you think that he was reliant on people around him to tell him what authorities he has and doesn't have?
Trump's administration, it's the same thing.
Okay, so you think that there was people around him who sat down with him and explained that he has the said authorities, right?
Okay,
Can you answer my question? Yeah, sure. So that doesn't sound to me like the process of a person who's trying to accumulate maximum amounts of power to himself, but rather a person who's utilizing. Hang on, man. Let me make the point, and then you can respond.
Okay. So Trump isn't trying to accumulate power, but his administration is. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, that wouldn't even that wouldn't logically follow. So let's walk it through logically. You're president of the United States and you want to send the military in order to enforce law and order. And you and your administration broadly think that you have that authority and that you're complying with the Constitution when you do that. That would be the opposite of you trying to accumulate power. That would be you instead just enforcing your role as the commander in chief. Yeah.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
No, yeah. If it's directly violating a statute that you yourself cited, or at least someone else in your administration cited, it means there are legal professionals who are either incompetent or directly maliciously forgetting or leaving out or being negligible towards that part of the statute.
So are you saying there's no situation where
either? It could easily just be that they were wrong. Couldn't it just be they were wrong? Like, it doesn't logically follow that either means that they were a bunch of incompetent boobs, or they were malicious.
It's a one-page statute. It's a one-page statute. If you're not legally competent enough to read and interpret a one-page statute, you don't deserve to have a spot in office. No.
Well, hang on. Maybe I can even grant that if you're too incompetent to be able to interpret this law correctly, that still doesn't make your case that it's an accumulation of power, does it? Still doesn't make your case.
So I just want to ask
I could do this all day, man. I'm having a good time.
I just want to ask such a simple question. Do you think it's incompetence to read like a 5-letter sentence? The powers shall be granted through the governor of the state.
Yeah. So do you understand
do you think that's incompetence, or do you think that's malice?
When it comes to legalese, legal terms have a different definition than normative terms and a different definition than philosophical terms.
Here we go down the definition.
And those in turn have different definitions.
Oh, no, not definitions.
I'm sorry that I'm not going to allow for equivocation.
You don't even know what the statute is. Where's 12406? Tell us what 12406
I'm sure that you would.
Buddy.
You tell us what it is.
Yeah, it's the National Guard it's the National Guard and Federal Service Call, and it only allows for rebellion or danger of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. So
gotcha.
Again,
so there's a couple of other things, but those they have to be granted.
That's not all at all it is, though.
No,
it's not all. Like breaking the laws, and if the governors of the states won't enforce the law, then the president can use the National Guard.
That's not at all what the statute says.
That's not at all in the statute. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, he's reading something totally different.
So what?
I don't even know if you've read it.
Well, hang on. Before we get totally derailed, I would like to finish the exchange. We were almost done with the exchange. Let's just finish it.
Well, so let's finish my point, because you're so scared of it.
Go ahead. We'll get back to your point. Calm down.
Let Andrew speak, please.
Yeah, we're just trying. I don't know why. Like, if you were having an exchange with my debate partner, I wouldn't be jumping in and derailing every 5 seconds. Just calm down. We'll get to whatever your points are, dude. We have a lot of debate here to cover.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh man, we'll pull it up one at a time. I promise. We'll do it one at a time, whatever your points are. So anyway, back to this. If that's the case, that legal definitions have different definitions than medical definitions, philosophical definitions, when you have lawyers who are involved in these things telling you what you can or can't do in the exercise of your authority, and you defer to them, even if you can make the case that this is complete incompetence or even in some way misleading even, it doesn't actually demonstrate that this is an attempt to accumulate centralized power, and that's what you're here to prove, not whether or not you don't fucking like it very much because you think you're incompetent. You're here to prove that he's trying to centralize his authority, and that's what you need to demonstrate.
I rejected your incompetence premise. I think it's malicious.
Prove it.
It's incredibly simple legalese. Like, it's plain and simple. There was a whole case. Governor Newsom sued the Trump admin. I think Judge Charles Breyer was the district attorney that just ruled in Newsom's favor, saying that yes, this is illegal. This violated that statute as well as the.
And which court was that? Which court?
What do you mean? Which court? It was.
Which court was this ruled against Trump? Which court?
It was. I don't know, like the name of like.
It's
you mean,
okay.
like,
I don't expect you to remember everything off the top of your head. You can pull up the court. That's fine.
Like the specific court, or like the level
are you
of
asking
court?
if it's a district court or an appellate court or a Supreme Court? Is that
yes?
okay.
And which
It was an
district
appellate court.
Because remember that many of these courts they often fail when it comes to appeal. Many of them are appealed very quickly on various decisions. And just because you have a decision desk right away doesn't mean that through an appeals process these things won't be overturned. You just making the declaration that, oh, well, right now as they're going through the process, it seems to have favored Newsom doesn't mean that ultimately it will.
Well, so
ultimately they have
Newsom
what?
Initially, Newsom initially filed back in June when Trump initially deployed the National Guard, and then it went to Judge Breyer. He ruled in favor of a TRO, and then that went to a different court.
Was this by chance the Ninth
TRO.
Circuit? Was this the Ninth Circuit, maybe?
And
which
then
circuit?
I think
which circuit? Which circuit? Which court was this, bro? I want to pull up the case. We'll go through it.
I think it was the San Francisco. I think he was the district attorney of San Francisco. And
The
then
district attorney, the court of the district attorney of San Francisco, bro. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
I'm trying to.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What? Are you asking like for an exact court? What do you?
Yes, I'm asking you which court and what the case was, homie. So we can pull it up. We'll go through it.
Yeah, just look up Judge Charles Breyer. Judge Charles Breyer. It was literally decided on like literally yesterday or today. All you have to do is look up Judge Charles Breyer.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you sit there for a while,
preliminary
and
injunction.
and then we'll get back to your.
It was
We'll
a
get back to your.
preliminary
We'll get back to
injunction
your.
filed by Judge Charles Breyer.
Okay.
Like that. That's what. Like, just look that up.
Yeah, so I believe that rests on the idea that this was having to do with posse comitatus, which was one of the biggest issues because they cannot conduct lawfare activities. That's one of the reasons why they came up with that, and that was a direct violation of that. That's what I think Judge Breyer kind of ruled on.
Yeah, that was the Marines. That one was the Marines, though. That's also another good point, though, is the Marines conducting civil law or law enforcement.
That would be more like
posse comitatus. Yeah, that was the posse comitatus one.
Yeah,
but
posse comitatus is just saying that the United States of America really isn't supposed to act as a police force generally.
It also had to do with National Guard, I believe, too.
Yeah, and then he found. Yeah, the National Guard was as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't see how any of this is giving me a demonstration that the administration is trying to centralize authority by sending in the troops in order to quell riots inside of California. That seems
you don't think that?
That seems like if I were the executive, I would think that would be my duty. And under Article 2, that I had the authority to do that, especially if the administration around me was expressing that I did.
So you don't think that turning a state power into a federal power, specifically governed by the executive, is the executive gaining more power?
I think that the executive is very clearly outlined in Article 2 as being the commander-in-chief.
I just answered the question.
States. I am answering the question.
No, you're not answering the question.
Well, I don't think that's
pivoting.
Okay, well, that's not a yes or no answer. Let me ask you this.
No, it's just, no, hold on. Answer the question.
Okay.
Stop pivoting.
Have you been gay for 6 months or 7 months?
I've been gay ever since I saw your dad.
Yeah, so you've been gay for 6 months or 7 months?
Ever since I saw your dad, so about 4 months.
Yeah, is that 6 months or 7 months? So you've been gay for 4 months? Mm-hmm. If you ask a loaded question, what you did was you asked a question which is loaded. You gave me a false binary, right? A yes or no question can't be loaded. If you give me the binary, hang on, calm down, dude. Calm down. If you give me a question where you say something like this, what do you say? Do you think that Trump usurping state power is not yes or no? It's like, well, that has a presupposition that he's doing that, and I haven't granted that he is yet. I'm willing to answer yes or no to your questions, but don't load them. Be good faith.
There's more pivoting off here than a basketball game.
Okay.
But
yeah, okay.
So
Okay, so Andrew, just hold on, sorry, just one thing. Just fuck the context of everything else happening. Just my question on its own, yes or no?
And your question on your own, repeat it.
The question on its own. So, the federal government taking a state entity, federalizing it specifically under the purview of the executive order, would that be the executive branch accumulating more power?
Not necessarily, one, but two, there could be good context and reason for it, and they could have the authority to do it. So the answer is no. It wouldn't entail that would be an accumulation of centralized power authority. No.
You said not necessarily. Okay. Can you elaborate why not necessarily?
Yeah,
so is there an instance
not necessarily in there?
Because there could be context here which would show that he has the authority to do so. If he has the authority to do so, that's not an accumulation of additional powers, is it?
But what if
there's a statute that said...
Yeah, but hang on. Can you answer my question now? If it's shown that he has the authority to do so, that would not actually in context show that he's accumulating more power to himself, would it?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a fair answer. Not necessarily. I agree.
Yeah.
No, and I wasn't saying it was a wrong answer. What I was saying, though, is because, again, I think the biggest hang up right here is whether or not he has the legal authority to do so. And I think that's one big marker of this administration is that they go after these weird little legalese loopholes that have been used, but not in this context. And so when we get down to it, this is kind of the issue here, right? Is that right now on its face, it certainly seems as though he has defied the governor's wishes, at least on its face. When Governor Newsom says, hey, I don't want these people down here, on that face alone, you could say he has the authority, but it's not denying the fact that he has subverted the will of Gavin Newsom.
I'll concede this. I'll concede the point that Newsom definitely did not want Trump to federalize his National Guard or send in the Marines. That's not in question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then Trump subverted the will of the governor then.
Well, I think that they had contrary agendas there. Sure, if you say subvert the will, that's I don't know if I'd use the language subvert the will. He disagreed that he didn't have the authority to nationalize the troops if Gavin Newsom wasn't executing his job as the governor.
So did Governor? It's very simple. This is very simple. Do you think that Governor Newsom did or did not want the National Guard on LA streets?
He definitely didn't want him there. Yeah.
And then what did Trump do?
So Trump sent in the troops and he federalized the Guard.
So he defied Governor Newsom's orders. Thank you.
Yeah, but that was not. You remember how just 5 seconds ago I just told you that thing you're saying thank you to was not even in fucking question. So what are you saying thank you about?
Because what you're trying to say is
how does that demonstrate he's accumulating additional power to himself?
I'm glad
what are you talking about?
Because even though what your argument is that it's a justified defiance and it's a justified consolidation of power to the executive branch because of some legalese loophole, what you don't realize is you just admitted in and of yourself that he defied the will of the governor, and it looks like he's going to define the will of the governor in Chicago or Illinois as well.
Sure.
So it's wild to me that you're like, well, because there's a legalese loophole that it's not consolidation of power. I still think it's consolidation of power when he openly defies what the gover's wishes are.
Yeah, but you're actually contradicting yourself here. I'll show you I'll literally show you the line of logic, how you just went to A and then not A. You've already admitted that it's not necessarily the case that if you defy the will of a governor or subvert the will of a governor, that means you're accumulating power to yourself. You've already conceded that point. Both of you just did. And then you go on to say that because he did, that means he is. That's absurd, man. And not only that, let me give you the second. Hang on, calm down, bro. I just let this guy talk and interrupt him once.
We were just saying that we shouldn't load our language.
I'm not. How do you know what I'm saying? You won't let me even get it out. Calm the fuck down. So anyway, we have A.
Spiel. What do you mean? I'm not letting you get shit out.
He just gave the spiel I'm responding to. I didn't interrupt him at all. So anyway, the point is that not only did you just concede that doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to accumulate more power to yourself, but let's just look at this in broader context. If he has the authority and thinks he has the authority, he's not broadening his authority, he's just exercising it. Like, why won't you guys contend with that?
Okay,
he's just exercising his authority for what? Wait. He's exercising his authority to do what? To guess what? Defy the governor's wishes.
Riot.
I know you're trying to run away from that point.
But if he has the authority to do that,
do you think I want to ask something here real quick. Andrew, do you think consolidation of power, because I think this is where we're getting lost here. Do you think consolidation of power only has to be done in the legal sense? Do you think consolidation of power could take place in a legal sense? I think consolidation of power can absolutely take place in a legal sense. Can it not? Okay, thank you. So you just admitted then, if you're saying then that it can happen in a legal sense, Donald Trump defying Governor Newsom's wishes to send in the National Guard, you just admitted that that's a form of consolidation of power. It can be done in a legal sense. Well, you just ruined your entire argument.
Let's test this logically, because again, what you're saying just makes zero sense, and I'll demonstrate it to you. There's a famous case in which the governor did not want the National Guard to be mobilized because they were going to enforce the laws that blacks could not attend white schools. Okay, very famous case. And the president went ahead and, he federalized the National Guard there anyway against the governor's wish. Would you say that he was accumulating more power to himself by doing that?
No, because he was because he was directly fighting a governor that was engaged in insurrection.
Now let your partner answer too.
Yeah,
yes or no? Is he accumulating more power by doing that?
I think you could argue he was accumulating more power. But again, the idea here.
Okay. So by him letting black kids go to school, he was trying to accumulate more power for himself.
Because here's what's Andrew. No, because this is what's. No, let me explain. Because Andrew Wilson likes to. No, Andrew Wilson likes to try to emotionally load this, and I get what he did, and that's perfectly fine. And I'll go ahead and explain myself with what I'm saying. He tried to emotionally load that word consolidation of power. I'm not emotionally loading that word. Let's be very clear, because in Andrew's context, he views us as if we're trying to use the connotation of consolidation of power as being an inherently negative thing. It doesn't inherently have to be a negative thing or a positive thing. I think the president going in, and even though it's a consolidation of power and stopping these, bringing the National Guard to prevent, you were saying bringing the National Guard to prevent black students from entering in. Yeah, it could be consolidation of power, and it's probably a negative thing to do that. Wait, that was a negative thing to do that.
It was a negative. Negative thing.
Accumulating power, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's loaded in the. It's loaded that it would be a bad thing.
I'm sorry, I'm mixing up. I'm short wiring, obviously.
I can't believe you fucking just said that.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Well, hold on. The prompt of the debate is is he accumulating power, and is that good or bad? And so obviously there are two parts to it. So sometimes he may be, but they'll still have to argue that. So they are separate things.
But hang on, I think we're untangling it fine.
Admittedly.
When we're starting, then that's fine.
Yeah,
look, that's fine. Listen, if you guys would calm down, and you would actually have this in good faith, I wouldn't tie you up.
You're the one smoking cigarettes, buddy.
Mike has been taking
more than anyone else in this. I'll just keep tying you up because if you're not going to be good faith, you're just going to get trapped by your own words time and time again. Just calm down and listen.
How am I not being good faith? You're the one smoking. How am I being bad faith?
It's bad faith to smoke.
I said, how am I being bad faith?
Yeah, but you just said you're the one smoking. How am I being bad faith? That infers it's bad faith to smoke.
No, you said, why are you freaking out? You're smoking. Anyways, I don't need to smoke for my stress.
Yeah, I smoke every day. That's because I freak out? Or
that's making man bad?
I know you're so hung up and you're pivoting. I'm allowing you to pivot, and that's okay. Let's get back to the argument. So let's get back to the argument that you were playing from initially.
So allow what Andrew finishes his argument. Okay.
Yeah, so the thing is I'm trying to untangle these two concepts as well. We want to untangle whether or not good, bad, from whether or not we can even agree that you're accumulating or consolidating more power unto your branch. I would make the point, and I think that you guys would agree with this if you were at least good faith. Like, we were ready to make concessions on whether or not there's certain accumulations to the executive branch under Trump, and then argue whether or not those things were good. Here, I'm just not willing to make the concession because it sounds like you guys are just saying even if he's exercising authority he already has, that's accumulating power to himself. That doesn't. I don't know how you square that circle or circle that square or whatever you want to call it. How exactly do you reconcile this for me?
Yeah, I'm glad.
I think the point that we're trying to make is that he doesn't have the authority to do this.
How does he not have the authority?
When he's directly violating that 12406 statute that says
read that statute.
I can pull it up if you want.
Yep, pull it up.
Yeah. So
because earlier you guys were talking about pulling up the Breyer court case as well, who supposedly ruled on this.
Yeah, because the 12406 mentions rebellion.
Yeah, so
against the state authority,
and
when the state authority doesn't actually enforce it themselves.
So Title 10 U.S. Code 12406, National Guard and Federal Service Call. The United States or any of the Commonwealths or possessions is invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign nation, there is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the states. The president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such members as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those federal laws. Orders of these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states, or in the case of the District of Columbia, through the Commanding General of the National Guard of the District of Columbia.
Interesting.
That's
Now,
the statute.
tell me about a rebellion. What is a rebellion?
How does the law view?
Remember, this is very clear legalese. Remember, this is very clear legalese. Remember, what's a rebellion, bro?
Apparently,
It's
I didn't know what I
very
was talking
clear
about before.
legalese.
Okay.
Rebellion? What does
Very
it have
clear
to do with-
legalese.
Yeah. What's a rebellion?
What is it?
Would that be when you're like sort of
uprising?
targeting state buildings, or?
Not necessarily. It's like more of a
Not necessarily.
coordinated group of a
Oh,
like a coordinated group rising up against the government. I'd probably broadly say that's what.
well, maybe if they were like,
yeah.
going and hitting ICE buildings, government buildings, these sorts of things, and the government wasn't doing anything about it.
Hold on, not a single person is contesting that's the case.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So he has the authority.
No one here is seriously saying that. We're
So he
arguing
has the
over who
authority.
We're arguing over who has the authority to federalize the National Guard.
Okay, so there was a rebellion. They were hitting government buildings. He has the authority. He hasn't accumulated anything. Thank
You
you.
realize that even if those conditions are met, you still have to have authority from
Nope.
the sitting government.
Nope.
Yeah, that's what the statute says.
No, he doesn't.
Where?
The president can exercise the authority if there is an uprising and the governor's not doing anything about it.
The president may
not
call
what
in
it
federal
says.
service
You don't
members
even
and
begin.
units of the
That's
National
not
Guard
what
of
it
any
says.
state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. Orders for these purposes
Thank
shall
you.
be issued through
Thank
the
you.
governors of the
That's-
state.
yeah.
Are you illiterate or?
Sounds right to me.
Well, like I understand you're Australian, but I didn't realize you couldn't speak English.
Oh,
either.
so you're using the Australian fallacy. I see how it is.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah,
'cause this
you're-
is
you're-
something
you're-
that I
you're
feel
like-
His homeland
your opinion is
isn't real
automatically
doesn't mean he
invalid.
can't read, okay?
I want to go back to the earlier point that Andrew openly stated that you can consolidate power, even albeit legally. And we mentioned that multiple times. And so this is what I'm trying to say is even if I were to work in your example and say that this were legal, which again, it's working its way through the courts to determine, and again, we're going to Judge Breyer's case.
I think that's a fair assessment. It's working its way through the courts. I think that I agree with that.
So again, when we look at the idea, if we look at the idea, you can. Oh, good. This is too. This is unfair.
I don't
Tom.
blame
No,
him.
I'm playing.
I don't blame him.
So when it comes to that, though, you've just acknowledged that even if it's legal, it does not change the fact that you can still have consolidation of power to the executive branch. And I think that y'all kind of already, just by way of that law, saying that the president would overtake the National Guard, then you pair that with the fact that Trump is now sending them into California even against Governor Newsom's wishes. Both of those, in my opinion, just based on the statute, just based on Gavin Newsom denying that, would be consolidation necessarily. Now, we could talk about whether or not it was a negative or a good thing. That's a whole different conversation. But
so we can, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you were tying it off. Go ahead.
No, I tied it off. Go ahead.
Okay, so we can make those simple concessions. They just don't hurt our argument at all. Sure, I concede that you can accumulate power to yourself via legal mode, via force, via all sorts of different things, through coercion. There's all sorts of ways in which you can accumulate power. My basic argument to you is simple, though. If it's the case that he already has the authority to do these things, and presidents before him did, they just did not. They did not do the things, but they had the authority to. Then he's not actually accumulating any more power to himself. He's just exercising the authority he already has. That's the argument. And so when you say, well, it's working its way through the courts, I agree with that. It's working its way through the courts. When it's finally settled through the courts, if he defies it like Jackson did and then goes and butchers the Indians anyway, I think you would have a good case to make that now you have defied the courts, you have done it anyway, and now there's a serious problem and a constitutional crisis, and now you've accumulated more power to your branch than was otherwise supposed to be there. But that's not what's going on here. You're just saying that he's exercising authority that he thinks he has. I agree that he's exercising authority he thinks he has, and that is working its way through the courts as it's contested by people who don't think so. But that's not really demonstrating that he's accumulating more authority to himself.
No, I would say, again, you're reframing my argument. I said, and initially, and again, we'll rehash this, I said that this is inherently just based on the statute alone of the president assuming the power of the state's National Guard. That in and of itself is consolidation. That act is consolidating the power of the National Guard, removing it from the state and giving it to the federal government. How is it not if you're taking over? You can say it's legal, but we just agreed. You just agreed with me that it could be a legal authority and it could still be consolidating the power. So
I want to show you something so that you understand what I'm saying here. Let's assume for a second it was always within the purview of the office of the President of the United States to nationalize any guard unit they wanted, just hypothetically. They could just do that anytime they felt like doing it. They were allowed to via constitutional provision. Now, let's say that we had 50 presidents who never did do that, but we had one who did do that in order to execute some laws that they thought needed to be executed under their watch. That's not an accumulation of additional powers or authority.
That's
to that
not
president.
My argument.
Hang on.
Go back to my argument, Andrew, because you're trying to reframe it. Go ahead. Go back to my original argument.
I'll let you, bro.
You interrupted
we'll go
me,
back,
so I'm
let
just
me
interrupting
refinish.
you. Please reframe.
When did I interrupt you?
You interrupted me when I was when I was talking about what I was saying. So
listen, we're never going to get anywhere if I can't tie off my arguments, dude. I'll let you tie off your arguments. I promise.
Okay, go ahead.
I promise. I'll let you tie off your arguments. So the point here that I'm just trying to make to you is that would not be accumulating additional authority to yourself. This is working its way through the court. What you would have to demonstrate to me in order to demonstrate that this is an accumulation of additional authority that the executive is not supposed to have, you would have to demonstrate that somehow. That's what I'm looking for. That's what the claim should be. Whatever your claim is irrelevant if you're not demonstrating to me how he's accumulating more power to himself.
My claim?
To steel man your claim, you're saying that I'm steel manning it. Do you want me to or not?
How about you tell me what my claim is? I don't want you to steal me. I want you to tell me.
That's what a steel man is, you dipshit.
I want you to tell me what my claim is.
That's what a steel man is.
I don't want you to steal man. I want you to repeat back to me what my claim was. It was very clear, Andrew.
You mean steel man your claim? You want me to steel man it? You want me to steel man your claim?
I want you to provide my claim. What was the claim I provided? You're running away from it because you're not listening. My claim was very succinct, very easy to understand.
Repeat your claim. I'll repeat your claim.
Okay, repeat.
If he's executing the legalese, he's accumulating more authority to himself, definitionally.
No, wrong. Thank you. You can play back the tape. I did not say that. I said that if the president were to go in and take over the National Guard, he is necessarily consolidating power to the executive branch. Not that he's accumulating more power. Keep it in focus, Andrew. I know you're not listening, but listen. Consolidating power, not more power, not accumulating anything more than any other president. It is very succinct, very simple. And I could go back to my introduction in which I made the claim that is Donald Trump consolidating power at the executive branch? The answer is absolutely yes. I made that as my original claim. It's still my claim today. It's not accumulating more power to the executive branch. I know that's what you want it to be, but that's not what it is. So how about you start listening and engaging with the actual arguments instead of pivoting like a basketball player?
Okay, so how do you centralize power without accumulating more power?
How can you centralize power without consolidating more power? You don't think you can wait. You just agree. Oh, no, now you're trying to pivot again. Because here's the thing. You initially said that you
I'm just trying to make sense of your claim.
You just said that you can consolidate power legally. And I've already exhibited where he defied Governor Newsom by sending the National Guard into Los Angeles.
True. But when
which means, guess what? He's necessarily consolidating power to the executive branch. That's just by definition what's happening.
Bro, that makes no sense. Calm down and let me respond now, okay? Me saying that I agree with you that you can legally consolidate power, the entailment there is I think that you're legally doing something to give yourself some powers you didn't have before. Otherwise, what is consolidation of power? What is consolidation of power except the granting of yourself more powers? What else could it even mean? Can you tell me that? What does it even mean?
Consolidating powers would mean taking powers from places that the power already
aren't yours,
with you and bringing it together.
I'm glad.
It's not like you own all the toys and you're putting the toys in one place.
You're right, and that's exactly what that statute just said. It literally said that the president could take over the National Guard of California. That statute, in and of itself, consolidates power to the executive branch. And let's be very clear, it ebbs and flows. There are times where you consolidate power, and there's times where you don't consolidate power, right? You may lose some power at the executive branch and not consolidate. It ebbs and flows. There are times where it goes back and forth.
Is consolidation of power the granting of yourself more power or not?
Is that not wait, granting yourself more power or granting yourself power?
Yeah. Or giving yourself some sort of additional powers. How else could you
keep saying
consolidate?
additional. You keep saying it. You're so
Yeah, I don't know how else
it's,
it works.
power. Hold on, wait. Because
we
are getting lost on the semantics, because granting yourself power means that you are granting yourself something that you didn't have power of. So he is. It's necessarily more power.
Even if I were to play that game. Even if I play the game, necessarily in the statute, that's what it's exactly doing. It's giving the president a power that he did not have before until he invoked an act. That's exactly what that is. Is that not?
So just quickly, so in this circle, this is power. This is power in the United States. Let's say that it's 50-50 state to federal. If you're consolidating it, you would be trying to consolidate more of the 100, right? More of the power in the circle.
Wouldn't that be what consolidation means in this context?
So let me get this right. Before Section 12406 or whatever it was.
Can you just answer the question, dude?
You don't answer.
Does it mean
what he just said? Thank you.
I'll answer every question you have. Yes or no. Shoot him.
Section 12406 specifically before that was invoked. Guess what? Who had the power? Newsom had the power to invoke the National Guard. Donald Trump then necessarily invokes Section 12406 to then now say, I have the authority to consolidate power to the executive branch and take over the National Guard and send the National Guard down to Los Angeles. That act in and of itself consolidates power to the executive branch.
He already had that authority, Doofus.
He already had the authority, bro. But the thing is, it's funny here that I don't understand is like, I think that we can figure this out really easily if you answer Jake's question. If we think of power as a circle, this entire circle of power here, right? And you have, 10% of it, how do you consolidate for 11% without the necessary entailment being there's more power? I actually don't understand that. Maybe you can help me out.
Because sometimes you go in and sometimes you go out. There's presidents who have not invoked Section 12406.
Sometimes you go in and sometimes you go out.
If you're talking about a circle, if you're talking about a circle, there are sometimes that it goes closer to the center. There's sometimes it goes further out.
But aren't you always granting yourself more powers that you didn't previously have? That would be consolidation.
Yeah, again, hold on. Wait, it would necessarily be more power, but he's saying that it's power that you're allowed to grant yourself. And so technically you have the power to grant yourself that power, but it's still more power one way or the other.
You have the but this is very important. This is extremely important. You have the ability to consolidate power, but you're not utilizing that power to consolidate it to the executive branch. It's just like, for example, if we were to invoke the Insurrection Act, okay, to move it kind of forward and hoping that we can move forward. If you were to invoke the Insurrection Act, necessarily by that in and of itself, you are consolidating power at the federal branch. But at the time, we're not consolidating power because we're not invoking the Insurrection Act. Just because it's there and you're not utilizing it, that then in of itself, once you utilize it, that's the moment that you consolidate power.
And I don't actually see. Yeah, then I don't actually see how you have a. Yeah, but hang on. I still don't actually see how you get additional powers from this. If you're just invoking powers you already have, I don't see how that's additional to. What your argument seems to be is that if it's the case, hang on. Make the argument. Calm down. I'll make the argument. What you seem to be saying is like, I have the power to go over and get a Snickers bar, but I don't go and get a Snickers bar. One day I do exercise my power to go get the Snickers bar, and now I have more power because I have the Snickers bar? Is that the basic argument here?
No, because again,
so the reason I'm trying to clear this up is because I do think, just real quick, I think it is a semantic difference. Whereas like the normally if we would say, is Donald Trump or is the US president in charge of state policing? I think most everybody would say no, they're not in charge of state policing. But in this case, he is, right? So in this case, he has added a responsibility and something that he's now in charge of, which would make it to where he has that power. I would assume you guys would agree at least on that much, in that it is just kind of semantic.
I don't know. It seems to me like if you have the authority,
whether or not he ought to do this.
Yeah, if you have the authority to do X thing and it's granted to you already, and all you do is enforce X thing that's already been granted to you as a power or authority, that doesn't sound to me like a consolidation of additional powers. What it sounds to me like is that you're utilizing the authority granted to you in the office to execute your duties. That's not, for me, that would be the opposite of a consolidation of power. Consolidation of power to me would mean something akin to you're using your authority and abilities to grant more powers to your office or to your station that you would not ordinarily have, which then gives you more power over other branches of government. not that you already have these authorities in place and you're utilizing them. I don't think that people would ever consider that to be power consolidation, man. That seems to defy the very sense of what we're talking about.
Yeah, Andrew, I
Well, again,
understand
I think that's why it's semantics, because you're saying they're saying you have the authority to take the authority, but you wouldn't normally have the authority. The president isn't normally in charge of like local police.
Well, we're not debating you, Tom, but let him answer. Let him answer.
I understand. I'll let him go.
I understand what you mean when you say that, Andrew. Like, you know, if it's within your purview, like if you have the capacity to deploy that power already, then it's not necessarily consolidating power because it's already under your whatever jurisdiction, right? Would you say that's the point you're trying to get at?
Yeah, if you already have the authorities granted to you, it's like a cop. A cop may have the authority to arrest people and never make any arrests. But one day he makes an arrest and you say he's consolidating power. Like, that doesn't make any sense. He's just exercising the authority within the duties that he already has. He's not really getting any additional powers.
Keep using
okay, yeah, you know,
I'm just going to go in circles.
I understand.
Well, I think it does. I think it does. I think it does entail that consolidation of powers. You're giving yourself powers you didn't have. Yeah, I think that's what it entails.
I think that's kind of what at least I'm arguing. I was gone for a second, so I don't necessarily know what Vince was trying to get at. But what I'm trying to argue is that Trump didn't have that authority then and there to deploy or to federalize the National Guard.
Okay, but you agree with me?
That's why I would say it's a consolidation.
But you agree with me that even if you have a ruling right now that's in your favor, that this is working its way through the courts, and we don't have this established yet. This is still an ongoing court case. And so you can't really even say if it's ongoing and it's embattled by both sides think that they're correct here. You can't really use this as a reference to say that this is established because it's not established yet. We have not actually determined that he was outside of his authority to do this yet.
Okay, maybe we can have like a middle ground. If it turns out that the court or whatever the final say on the matter is that it ends up ruling in Newsom's favor, would you say it's a consolidation of power at that point?
Yeah, if the case is that when it's all said and done and settled, I think he would have a much better case to make that there was some sort of consolidation going on there where he was giving himself additional powers that he did not have before. I'd be willing to grant that. But then we would have to get to the next step here, which is, why would that be bad again? If it's the case that you have a governor who's refusing to enforce the laws which are inside of his state, and he's putting people at the mercy of mobs, which he was doing, we watched it live, even if it's the case that Trump did grant that to himself and was able to suppress this, and then later it was struck down as being something which was unconstitutional, it still seems like he did a good thing.
So why would you say that Newsom isn't enforcing the law? And it's specifically not Newsom. I think it would be Karen.
Because I was watching as hundreds of donut eaters were standing around as people were tearing a city to pieces. That's why. And it was very obvious that they were given stand down orders because otherwise they would have been in there clubbing and drubbing these fuckers half to death and dragging them to fucking jail, which they started doing the second that the Marine Corps got there. So, and I watched all of it happen live. I watched all of it unfold live. So did the thousands and thousands of people right now who are watching this live. They watched it with me. It was very clear they had stand down orders. And so, no, I think that that's a dereliction of duty by the California governor and by the mayor of Los Angeles. And if I were the executive and I thought that I had the power to send in the troops or federalize the troops in order to quell that, I would have fucking done it too. So and I think that you guys would have said that that's a good thing.
So you're saying the Marines quelled the protests?
Yes, I am saying that. Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Do you know when? Do you know?
Not necessarily put you on the spot. But like, do you have an example of like?
Yeah. So here's what happened. So as you watch the riots unfold, before there was any nationalized troops which were there, they basically allowed them to burn certain square blocks and loot them and do their rioting stuff and this type of thing. The second the military got there, you saw the protesters kind of come out and try to act like they were going to come out in force, right? But these guardsmen and Marines were having none of that. They were beating the shit out of these guys in public. They had no fucks at all to give about it. None. Zero. And when we got to their famous day of rage, the day it was all supposed to pop off, you should have seen all the content creators who were on camera saying, oh man, today's the day. It's all going to pop off now. And they didn't do shit because they would have got their asses whooped. They would have got their asses whooped, and they knew they would have gotten their asses whooped. And they all went home, and nothing happened. It fizzled out, completely fizzled out.
Wrong. He's patently wrong. So I'll present. I've got some actual facts here because I know Andrew didn't prepare for this. June 6th, early anti-ICE protests amounted to about 1,000 people. June 7th, the 9th, and the 10th, that's when the National Guard and Marines were deployed. It was around that time that we also saw, because again, it was only like a day later, that we saw the rocks being thrown from the freeway and things of that nature. But it was after 4 days later that we saw over 30,000 protesters. It amplified for No King's Day. That was a Saturday. So again, the idea that the Marines quelled all the protests and they all went home. There was 30,000 people that attended on June 14th. You're patently wrong on this, Andrew.
Yeah, so let's go through it. No King's Day was pre-planned weeks in advance, by the way. Weeks in advance. We were going into the calls. We were going into the organizers' calls live. You can literally see live footage of Jake. No? Hang on, calm down. No? Calm down. I'll explain. I'm explaining the entirety of the timeline. Jake went in live to one of these calls, in fact, as the organizers were planning this in real time, what they were going to do, what they weren't going to do. And this was an NGO planned and funded thing that was going to happen. The fact that you say, oh, 30,000 people turned out, that's true. That was expected. What was not expected is that the 30,000 people would go home at the stroke of 8 p.m. and wouldn't burn the fucking city down. That was because the Marine Corps was there. It was going to happen with that one for sure.
You said 8 p.m.
You said 8 p.m. It was going to happen with that one.
8 p.m. Yeah, they went home around 8 p.m. This was widely known amongst protesters that at 8 p.m. usually those people who are out afterwards are the troublemakers. Those are the ones who should not be there. So typically, yes, people go home at 8 p.m. on a Saturday because they have family, not because of Marines, because that's how all protests happen. Literally all protests.
Before they got there, so Andrew, before the guard got there, what was going on? They were tearing that city to pieces at night. They were starting it on fire. They were busting shit. They were breaking things. They were setting buildings on fire. They were looting. We were watching it, bro. We watched it all happen.
Lost control totally.
This idea that you have that No King's Day was supposed to actually be a peaceful day of protest, when you watch all of their calls and how they planned this out meticulously for how, if you get arrested, what type of bail funds you can use, this type of thing, if you're there after hours. They obviously were trying to pivot it to something popping off there in the evenings. It was so obvious to everybody watching it. Of course, not you, though. You were giving all of these people who were breaking, rioting, and looting the benefit of the doubt that, oh, no, they were just after No King's Day. That was just all going to stop, though. Yeah.
So right. Again, when we look at I want to look at the original claim that Andrew made, that after the Marines came in, that they went away. They didn't. There was 30,000 people that attended. So again, his claim
actually that wasn't the claim I made. That was the claim that I made was that
here we go. Let's change the claim.
After. Yeah, so after the military got there, you did see them ramp up. They said that they were going to do that. They also said that they were going to claim that the newfound violence in the city was that they were going to pin it on the fact that the military was being deployed. And that was what was actually causing the unrest. But the unrest was there long before any military ever got there. They were breaking shit, damaging property, setting stuff on fire. They were already doing that shit. So the thing is like all that happened. All that happened here is that they were going to try to make a message. They were going to try to send a message with their political unrest against the military. Found out they weren't going to fuck around, find out.
Apparently,
once they figured that out, they started going home. You actually could see. You can actually see every single day that these guys were getting their asses whooped. The next day, way less of them were out at night. And then the next day after that, less of them were out at night. All the way into No King's Day.
Or during the weekday? Do more people come out for protests during the weekend or the weekday?
Obviously on the weekend.
Oh, okay. So that's exactly what happened then.
Nobody dispute. Did anybody dispute that there was going to be more people there on No King's Day? No. In fact, I told you that was the entire plan. The entire plan was to have it accumulate on this day. It's just that the plan wasn't that they all went home afterwards because they didn't want their asses whooped and to get thrown into jail. That was not part of their plan.
Gotcha. So again, the original claim you made that after the Marines, they went away, zero, zilch, I believe is the word used, is factually incorrect. We've already proven that. We can move on. Tom, if you want to, we can move on to another.
No, we were talking about the fucking rioters, not human beings. We're talking about rioters.
Oh, now we're qualifying it because Andrew was proven wrong. All right.
So you can't take obvious context clues or what? You think I was just talking about an estimate of people themselves, even though
That's
I
fine.
granted
You can add a qualifier afterwards, Andrew. You're totally okay. Do that. Go ahead. Add that qualifier. It's okay.
Anyway, go ahead. What's the next thing? By the way, how does any of that demonstrate that Trump was accumulating more power to himself?
Exactly.
It doesn't.
Accumulating more, but I digress. We can go on to the next one if you want, because clearly.
Well, I thought the reason that you guys were going over that is that, like, if he didn't, if there were rioters, then this would have give him the ability to enact the powers that he has to send in the National Guard.
There were definitely rioters.
I thought that's what it was over, is whether or not the police were actually doing their jobs.
We already established that. Yeah, there's definitely rioters. They were definitely hitting government buildings. The police weren't doing their job. Governor Newsom was trying to resist help, and then Trump sent in the National Guard. People started getting arrested a lot more. The government buildings stopped getting fucked with, and the No Kings protest, something that was organized in the wake of organized in advance of these protests. Despite everything that was happening in LA, they still organized all these protests around. So, I mean, yeah, I think that if it wasn't for the National Guard, then it would have been another summer of love.
Yeah, me too. And so does every other thinking, objective person who actually covered it. Did you cover it, dude? Did you actually cover it?
So, the one, I think I did. I actually did say that Trump consolidated, well, I didn't say specifically consolidated power, but Trump did send in the National Guard against Gavin Newsom's wishes, which was a consolidation.
That's
of
true.
power, but, yeah.
I don't believe that's the consolidation power, though.
We already demonstrated it's not actually.
Yeah.
I think anyone can agree that sending in the National Guard obviously is going to quell, more violent protests. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that.
He's disagreeing with that. Literally, your debate partner's disagreeing with that. Literally. He's literally disagreeing with that.
Well, then I don't agree with my debate partner.
I think that
I think the issue is we would kind of argue there's a scaling to it, right? I think we would probably make the claim, I would make the claim that sending in the National Guard is overkill compared to what was necessary.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Did you actually cover those riots? Were you actually watching them in real time as they were unfolding?
Yeah, I was watching a lot of them.
Okay. Then the thing is, then do you remember when there was at the corner of that neighborhood with the donut shop and the two pawn shops, that there was hundreds of cops who were in a semicircle around them, standing down and watching them loot an AM/PM, watching them set things on fire, watching them throw bombs of all types. Bombs, not kidding, bombs. They were detonating everywhere. And they stood down and just watched it. Why do you think that the cops didn't go in when on other nights, when the same type of activity was happening after the military got there? Why do you think the cops were running those people down at that point with their various teams, their shielded teams, and beating the holy shit out of them and dragging them off of the streets? Why do you think that they decided to stand down before that? Because they were told to stand down, dude. That's why.
I don't necessarily know about the specifics in that case, but I do know that there were 200 arrests made before the National Guard was even deployed. I also saw footage of police making arrests beforehand. I don't necessarily know about the specific instance that you're referring to, Andrew, but I didn't.
You would know if you had covered them.
Orders
you would know if you had covered them, bro.
What I do remember seeing is that, and this is the authority that they were granted, was to only cover the federal buildings. The rest, and I remember very vividly seeing this. Guess what? The police were the ones going in and doing that. Even after the military was deployed, it was still the police that were the ones that were effectuating the rest, and the ones that were still controlling the riot crowds outside. The ones near the federal buildings
and National Guard weren't largely carrying out arrests.
Yes, it was not. Yeah. It was all the.
Yes, they were working. They were working even at that point with local police departments. That's true, but I can tell you right now that the Guard was involved with heavy exchanges with these crowds. Okay, and I watched it live. So that's bullshit to say that they weren't.
Wait, then your argument then about the AM/PM store, as if that was somehow, that wouldn't have happened if the National Guard would have never been near the AM/PM store, because guess what? It was the police.
Yes, they would have.
No, because
hang on. Listen, once there was military observers who were on the ground who were watching this go down, right? If they had come out and said, look, the National Guard is here and we're trying to enforce law and the police have been purposely given stand down orders, it would have fucking destroyed the entire Democrat Party in California if that had been the case. Of course, they started finally enforcing law when it was the case that there was observers on the fucking ground.
The law. So now Andrew's pivoting here instead
after
of
not enforcing it.
I'm glad
now,
to know. Here we go. He's expanding again. He's
pivot?
expanding again.
Same
This is
position.
great.
This was the position I literally gave you.
You implied that that the police took stand down orders because of the AM/PM store or whatever it was.
They did.
Okay, but then you implied that the National Guard was the one that quelled that. No, it wasn't, because guess what? The police were the ones that still had to effectuate that arrest. The National Guard and the Marines were only overseeing the federal building.
The National Guard, listen, the National Guard and Marines were taking people out in paddy wagons. Now, whether or not they were the people who actually read them the Miranda rights and put them in fucking jail cells, I don't know. But yes, the National Guard and the Marine Corps were effectively arresting people, whether or not they technically did. They were doing it live. You can go back and watch my footage. We have it live.
They were all on the streets.
Night.
So you're telling me then that they were on a separate street in Los Angeles, effectuating an arrest, doing law enforcement activities, which is well beyond the scope, by the way, of 12406. If they're effectuating
why don't you go watch what happened at the ICE buildings? Watch what happened at the ICE buildings. Yes, and here's the thing too. This is really funny. This is really fun.
What's an ICE building?
Federal building.
Your argument. Hold on a second. Your argument is that they were only going after federal buildings.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hold on.
But
so you're saying that they went after federal buildings
the entire time, bro. I've had the only one here with a consistent position. Yes,
I'm glad to know that the only place the National Guard could have handled anything was at the federal buildings and not actually on the streets where all the protests were taking place.
It wasn't the only places. That's one. And two, right? They were helping with logistics and everything else. Once there were observers on the ground, they had to mobilize and do fucking something. It was real bad for them, and it was a bad eyesore for them.
All right.
Yeah.
So just quickly, you're saying, though, that if the National Guard was out there protecting federal buildings, you would say that they have the authority to do that?
Yeah, they have the authority to protect federal buildings.
Great.
Yeah, they have the ability.
Did they leave federal property?
Actually, they have not. I think there was still. I think the last time I checked, which is one of the reasons why I think Gavin Newsom still has a bit of a claim.
Wait a second.
There was about 300 people that are still sitting there in Los Angeles, I think.
So you're saying the Guard and the Marines only protected federal buildings, right?
That's what I understood. But if I'm
wrong, you just said that they were allowed. You just said that they were allowed to do that. So why is it even a problem that Trump sent them?
Well, first of all, the problem is that he overran. Remember, the problem here is that they consolidated power from removing the governor being able to control.
Really? Because I thought you just said all they did was protect federal buildings, which is what they were allowed to do before that.
I think when you sit there and you have the president overriding the wishes of a state governor, I think it can be problematic. In this case, I think it was problematic. I think that
he's allowed to do that.
How? If all they did was protect federal buildings, bro.
Because again,
how is it problematic?
You're putting the military on the streets. I think it is extremely problematic.
Wait, they weren't on the streets. Remember, they were only in front of federal buildings.
They were at the federal buildings, correct?
Oh wait, they were on the streets.
Okay, wait.
They were.
Wait. Let's get your argument straight then. So if they're only at the federal building, if they're only at the federal building, then are you suggesting then that they didn't actually effectuate an arrest? There was no actual impact to what they actually did on the ground. There was nothing they did. In fact, I already proved it. 30,000 people.
For the purpose of the argument, sure, I'll go ahead and grant they were only at the federal buildings, which you say they have the authority to be at no matter what.
Right.
So what the fuck did Trump even do wrong?
They were not at the AMPM store. So what the fuck did Trump even
do wrong? Yeah, I'll grant the argument. I'll just grant it. So what did Trump even do wrong? If all he did was guard federal buildings,
he disregarded what Gavin Newsom's wishes were.
Yeah, but we also did say that they were helping with logistics and organization.
Gavin's wishes were that he didn't want troops in the streets, and they weren't in the streets. They were just protecting federal buildings, which they were allowed to do, right?
That they were allowed to protect the federal buildings? Yes, they were allowed to protect the federal buildings. But just because
were they allowed to?
We'll rehash this. We'll rehash this because this is great.
Thank you.
The original argument was, and I will go back to it because we're seeming to get away from it. So the original argument was, is Trump consolidating power? and I will go back to what you initially said, and we'll go back to this. You said that you can do something that's legal and still consolidate power. You agreed to that initially, and I would still say the same thing here. Again,
I still agree to it.
My point and my position, yes, he is still consolidating power. Whether he was legally allowed to protect those buildings is one thing or another, but it does not negate the fact that he consolidated power. We're just going to go around circles on this, but again,
so let me get this.
If that's your case,
so I want to make sure I got this right.
If that's your case, that they're sitting there at the federal buildings, if that's the case, which is what it is, they stayed at the federal buildings, then your assertion that the National Guard was on the streets, which was the assertion you made when you said that there was an AM PM store and they were given stand down orders, which you have yet to have provided, the stand down orders that they were given, okay? You have yet to provide where the National Guard was going out onto those streets and effectuating arrests, which would also be a violation of posse comitatus.
So
I've got a quick question.
Hang on. So I just want to make sure that I have this right then. To get this correct, Trump deployed the National Guard to protect federal buildings, which he was totally legally allowed to do, according to you, and somehow that was him consolidating power. Brilliant argument, stupid lib. Brilliant argument,
wow.
stupid lib. Trump did exactly what he was supposed to do and was allowed to do. What a brilliant argument!
If I was your father, and I said to you that bedtime tonight is at 7 p.m. and bedtime's normally at 6 p.m., but I gave you a little bit of leeway and I gave you bedtime at 7 p.m., would I be consolidating power?
Would you be consolidating power? But what are you consolidating? And I'm not. And when I'm saying that, to be very clear, how, in other words, does that child have any kind of power structure at all? Right? Because right now what we're looking at is one unique structure. Right? We have the state of California, which is its own power structure.
You're muted.
So the father has the authority over bedtime. So the father already has the authority over bedtime.
But what authority does the child have?
An extra hour. The child wants to watch American Idol, and the father says, no problem.
What authority does the child have, though? In other words,
so you're saying that in that situation that the father already has the authority, but the father decided to exercise the authority that he already has.
The child has never had or never will have an authority. And what I mean by that is when you look at the state of California.
Well, it wouldn't be the child either, just to be clear. It would be like the mom has the authority over when they go to bed, and the dad is deciding to take it from the mom.
And that is a better example, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. So, like, if the mother were to be like, "Hey, son, I don't want you to stay there. I want you to go to bed on time," and then the father goes, "No, honey, it's okay. He can sit there and stay up late." Then that's consolidating power away from the mother. That's absolutely consolidation of power.
So the father already has that authority. He can already say when bedtime is. It's up to him. But then when he says what time bedtime is, he's consolidating power.
Say that again?
So the father already has the authority over when bedtime is, and then when he says what time bedtime is, he's consolidating power.
Okay, here's a more apt.
I said that the mother and the father, you're using this in a weird analogy, and I get it. But the funny thing is that when you look at the
Trump
mother
is daddy in this one. Newsom is child in this one.
The Newsom, no, see, this is just like they did with the consolidating more power. They keep adding that qualifier. It's the same thing he just did here. He tried it, even though Tom provided a much more apt and appropriate hypothetical. He still went with the idea there's a child, because I think there's a big difference here. Newsom's not the child here. Newsom's the mother and Trump is the father. They work co-equally. They work together. And when Trump sits there and takes away that power from the mother, being Newsom, then that is consolidating power. I know you're going to try to pivot back to the child example, but in this example, the child has no power to begin with.
I'll even grant it. So if the father has the authority to already overrule the mother, if the mother's not doing her job right, then the father has the authority. So already has the power. He's not consolidating anything.
The mother and the father both have an authority, and when the
father can overrule. If she's not doing the dishes, he can come in and
when
say,
he does, it's a consolidation of power. Yes.
Okay, so he's consolidating the power that he already has. Gotcha.
Hey, here's what I think is a more apt analogy. Let's say you have a little brother, a big brother, and a father. Father is the Constitution or the U.S. federal law. Big brother is Trump, and little brother is Newsom. Let's say that big brother sometimes has the authority to put little brother to bed, but only when told by father. Let's say that that father says you can't put your little brother to bed, and then
Can we say for this one
big
that
brother
father's dead
hold on.
and his rules are written down?
Can you?
Yeah.
So let's say that the little brother or the big brother, after being explicitly told by father, "Hey, you can't put the little brother down to bed this time," goes and puts the little brother down to bed anyway.
Who decided that
Big
this
brother.
time?
I'm sorry.
But how's that relevant? Because big brother in this case has that authority. Father dead. All right. So father's not coming back and saying, "No, actually, I meant this." In this case, the big brother has that authority. He can put the little brother to bed. So the big brother has that authority.
How is that a response to anything I just said?
Okay, so
No, because you're trying to smuggle in there. You're trying to smuggle in there that he actually doesn't have the authority. But we already established that he does have the authority. This isn't about whether he has authority. It's about whether he's gathering it or whether he's getting new authority.
I get it. I understand you're Australian, so it's a little hard to think sometimes.
Another fallacy.
I just want to say.
I understand you're a Zoomer, so you might be trans. What does
We
that
understand that you're gay, dude.
What does that have to do with it?
Okay, so Big Brother sometimes has the authority to put down little brother, but only when granted by father. Right?
Dude, you're not even arguing the same thing right now. I was arguing about whether or not he's collecting power or getting new power, and now you're back to arguing whether or not he has the authority. You're all over the place, bro.
Is that little brother trying to consolidate more power when you put the little brother to bed?
No, the big brother already has the authority
of his father.
The big brother has the authority. If little brother wants to watch American Idol or America's Got Talent or something, he can do that, and he has the authority to do that.
Okay, but what if sometimes he doesn't have that authority?
Oh,
What if he can't just put little brother down whenever he wants? What if he can only do it when father tells him to?
Okay, so So the rules here, I can see the analogy that you're trying to make here. You're saying, well, sometimes Trump can't do this because sometimes it's not within the purview of Trump's power. But this time it was, because there was a rebellion and they were hitting national buildings. So this time he had the power. He had the authority.
Okay,
it's still working its way through its courts, right? So we don't know whether or not it's legal. And we've already established that even if it's legal...
We do know it's not.
We've already known
they were attacking government buildings, ICE buildings. There was thousands of protesters around attacking government buildings. You just admitted to us that if they're attacking government buildings, then he's within his authority. So what are you even arguing about?
What I'm saying is that even if it's legal, this is the one thing I've encountered a lot, and we've gone in circles for like the past 45 minutes here. But what I'm trying to say here is,
just be clear, you guys aren't disagreeing on whether or not it's his authority, because everybody's hold on, everybody's agreed so far that some of these things are within his authority, especially in this specific case that it's within his authority. You guys are kind of, again, and it's not getting like zoned in on, but it is like over the semantics over whether or not you guys consider this a consolidation of power, and like that that is the part that like has to be dealt with, that isn't really being addressed.
I totally agree, but all this guy keeps doing is saying it's semantics, but if we clear up the semantics, none of us can equivocate. That's why semantics are so important in debate. That's literally why.
It does have to be kind of dealt with in order to have
it has to be dealt with. And you know why we're going around in circles for 45 minutes is because of equivocation. And if you guys were willing up front to get the semantics out of the way, rather than being bad faith and saying those are semantics, we wouldn't even have the trouble of all of this fucking equivocation. So let's get the semantics out of the way. What do you consider the consolidation of authority to be? What is that?
So the consolidation of authority is just whenever you're accumulating more power. That can be a good thing or that can be a bad thing. We're arguing.
No, you said more. You said more power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I agree with that. More power. Okay. Vince, do you agree with that definition?
Consolidation of power can take place in existing legal frameworks as well as additional powers as well. Both can be true. I think if you look at the fact of something that you do not utilize, and then you do end up having a situation that arises to the need to use that power, then you can have...
Wait, Vince, you agreed to this earlier,
we just want a definition, bro.
You agreed to this earlier, though. Yeah, so when his question is whether or not you agree with, like, more power, that it necessarily would be more. That even if Trump is enacting something in order to take over the LA police or in order to send police in there when he normally wouldn't be in charge, he normally wouldn't be in charge of the police, that is more power than, or more
power.
like a,
Yeah,
it's more responsibility, more power, more than he would normally have.
So
Right,
you're
so
basically
that
Corbin
normally have is incredibly important here, right?
Just a second. Just for the sake of the argument, could we say consolidation of power is just accumulating more power? Can we just?
I would be willing to concede to that definition, Jake.
Just for the sake of the argument.
Would you be willing
For
to concede to
example,
that
if he were to call himself a king, or you were to overrule the Supreme Court, that would be a consolidation of power that isn't his.
I was in the middle of answering.
Okay, well, answer.
So I said consolidation of power can take place with more, or it could take place in a fact of like a, if not for this particular event, certain, like, I guess you could, I don't know how to put it, like a checkpoint, if you will, that when this thing happens, now you're given more power. That can also take place. It's legally there. It's allowed. It just has to
be. But in both cases, it is more power.
It can.
Wait, hang on. I think I understand. So you're saying that it can be either you're trying to get more power, or a body or entity or individuals trying to get more power, or it could be that some event happens, like let's say a meteorite strikes the United States, and now we're under martial law, and that was like implemented immediately via if a meteorite strikes the United States, these powers go into effect immediately. That would also be a consolidation, right?
You could say if not for that event, then previously you had no powers, and now you do. Yeah. Yes, you have a consolidation of powers because it still exists in a legal framework, but it's not more.
Are more power.
I would say
both of them are more. Both of them are more.
Yeah, technically, I think we would all agree that is more. That's the part that keeps getting hung up on. Is that,
no,
technically, that is more.
I will concede this. I do see what you're saying. I think when I was hearing you say more power, I thought you were referring to more in the sense of outside of that legal framework. That new power. That was the way that I was understanding your argument to be framed, was that more insinuating that there is now an additional, and that's what and to be clear, that was the original claim, was additional.
It is additional. It is additional. That's
fine.
what.
Well,
yes, they're saying it's more power, more responsibility.
Fine. I can see this point. This is a really dumb point, anyways. Again, the point is that he's consolidating power. You want to sit there and say he's consolidating more power? By all means, please tell me he's consolidating more power, because that's fine. That qualifier just makes it more important that what I'm saying is exactly true. The fact is that he had taken power away from Gavin Newsom that he did not previously have, and now he's taken on that responsibility of the National Guard. So again,
well, and this is okay, I understand. So just to make sure I got the position right, all of us agree that when we're saying the word consolidation of power, like I said in the very beginning of this, even though we've been disagreeing for 45 minutes, we actually do mean more power. More power is necessary to the consolidation of power. Yes or no, Vince?
I just want to make sure when we're talking about more power, you're not referring to something that is additional. And when I mean additional, let me correct this. What you're not saying, though, is that this is not a new power outside of their already legally obligated framework, right? Like, this is, in other words,
I am saying it is.
No,
I'm saying there you go.
Yes.
There you go.
No, wait, Vince. Okay, so we're saying, like, if Zelensky all of a sudden is in the middle of a war and now he's allowed to call off elections, that is more power, but it's not new power, because it's always been in the Constitution that he can do that. So it's not new, but it is more. That's what they're saying. Is that this is more power, not new power. If
that's what Andrew Wilson is saying,
well, I just want to make sure that you concede that this is what we're discussing.
Because what I want to make sure is when you're using
your argument.
Because what I want to make sure of is for the exact same reason that Tom just laid out. If you're saying this is a new power, being that this was not in legal existence before, and that is consolidation of more power, I disagree with that sentiment. But if you're saying that it's consolidation of more in just the sense that it was not allowed previously and now he does have it because of a particular event that took place, sure, I agree with that. But again, I don't want to say that in the sense of saying that, like, this is a consolidation of additional power. That's not the consolidation of additional power.
I understand. Like, I think I understand what you're saying, and I'm willing to grant this too. Let's say maybe then that we can all agree on this. There's two different definitions, so we don't equivocate between the two. The first definition is granting yourself additional powers. That would be a consolidation of powers. Another definition is that powers are deferred unto you during times of crises, or perhaps other what you consider checkpoints, where additional powers are just legally granted to you, period. And that becomes a consolidation of power, even if it's not something that you were asking for.
So I want to make sure you're clear and we're clear on this. So you're saying the granting of additional powers that is legally allowed is the consolidation of powers.
That's
right?
one. That's definition 1 for consolidating power, and then definition 2. So that we're not equivocating, because what will happen is we'll equivocate between the two when they're actually two different things. So if it is the case that you go with, like, let's say definition 2, there's additional powers granted to you during an emergency, we might be willing to concede the point that would be consolidation of power and then move into the, is it good or bad, if that's the case. But if you're using definition 1, right, and saying, okay, under definition 1, this is, you're accumulating power because you want it, you're desiring it, you're going for it, you're making moves towards it, that we may have semantics disagreements there and say, no, we don't actually believe that fits the threshold of that, but we would concede that maybe it fits under the threshold of the second definition. So at least we can move forward from there to the second part of the argument, right?
Yeah, I think.
So what was the second definition again? Andrew?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was asking you, what was the second definition again?
It's like powers granted to you, not necessarily through any fault of your own, due to emergency or some kind of, quote, checkpoint.
Okay, yeah, like I think with the Zelensky example that Tom had brought up, I don't think I would call that a consolidation of power. I would say that's power.
Well,
it would be.
Hang on. It would be a consolidation of power if we're going to use that as our second definition. We're being very charitable by giving that to you guys, by the way.
Okay,
very charitable.
I think under my definition, I would say that's not a consolidation of power.
Okay, well, if that's the case,
that you already had that was dormant.
Well, if you're saying that, then the entire California example doesn't count.
If that's the case, then we won the entirety of the California exchange, and we'll concede that point.
Well, no. So
happy to move on.
I would argue Trump doesn't have the power to federalize the National Guard because he's directly violating that statute that we had.
Yeah, I understand, but you don't have any power or authority to make that determination. That's going to have to go through the courts and the governing bodies. And right now, that has not been established one way or the other. It's still working its way through the court system.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I'm happy to agree to disagree, I guess, just for the sake of continuing the conversation.
Yeah. So the thing is that if we're going to go with point 2, and we make a concession of emergency powers, right, and say that due to some sort of checkpoint, emergency powers are granted to you, I'm not even sure California falls under that. But if it's under definition 1, it definitely doesn't fall under it. Definitely doesn't. That would be an existing power, at least from our view, that he's exercising, and he has the ability to do so.
So because they have the ability to do so, you don't believe that?
Okay, do we want to?
Yeah, this is. We're going right back into circles. I was gonna say, because if this is the ability to do so,
do we want to move on to like the next example, maybe, or?
Well, this is kind of weird because you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot. Like when they're actually saying that they're like agreeing that this could be a part of accumulation of power.
Right.
Yes, you.
That's why I asked that question, Tom.
Necessarily have to agree that like some new powers.
Correct. Before Corbin bumped in. Not bumped in. I didn't mean that in a derogatory sense. Before Corbin said that, I was initially going with that because when I saw Andrew sit there and say that it was a consolidation of power, it seems like on both ends of those definitions, then to my original claim in my introduction, is Trump consolidating power? Absolutely yes. Andrew just confirmed. This was a consolidation of power, whether it's legal or not.
So I think, Corbin, I think that the problem is that almost every time it'll probably have something to do with whether or not he's like actually allowed to do this. That is part of it. Like in every time. So like if a lot of the claims are that Trump is using the like state of emergency to like grab a bunch more power and crap like that, the argument would be that these aren't actual emergencies. But every time it's not going to be like, oh, Trump, was fighting a war because somebody bombed us. So now he's accumulating power. Like that would just.
By the way, I want you guys to imagine. Hang on, Tom. Maybe you can clarify too. I want you guys to understand how absolutely over the top charitable I just was by separating these two things out and willing to grant you one of them for the purposes of moving the argument on so that there was no equivocation. Most good faith thing you could ever see in a debate. You guys would never do that for me in a million years. And I still did it for you, and you still fucked yourselves. You still fucked yourselves.
I called it out.
Well,
that's why I asked you to clarify initially, to be very clear and very transparent. I asked you it initially, but I also was a little cautious because I know what you like to do. When we talk about good or bad, we then go down this philosophical argument of good or bad. And so, I mean, I think we're already at 10 or
listen, I'm going to tell you, Vince. 99% of debates with fucking stupid progressives, and maybe you're not one. I have faith that you're not one.
I'm a self-avowed liberal, okay. not a progressive.
Maybe perhaps not a stupid one, though, right? 99% of these things end up being equivocation. Equivocation, us going around in circles over and over again, speaking past each other, because when we actually get down to the root of what it is that we're talking about, we find out that we actually agree with each other on this. And that just is really uncomfortable for people, right? Oh, we actually agree. Maybe this was consolidation of power. Then we move to good and bad. Then we get to the root of what that means and what it is that we mean by that. And perhaps there's agreement there too. The problem is people then enter into cognitive dissonance. They don't realize they didn't think their position through. And so they sound fucking stupid. But that's not me being bad faith. That's me being ultimately good faith. I would have cleared up these semantics right from the beginning. And I tried to. Don't say I didn't, because I did.
Okay, so
all right. Well, let's if this argument dead ends at whether or not the courts have agreed on it. If you guys aren't going to argue on that, then we should go to the next.
I agree.
That's what I was. That's what
I'm willing to grant.
I don't necessarily agree with Andrew's framing that just because it hasn't come to some final statement in the courts that it can't necessarily say it was a violation of that statute. Okay. Just for the sake of moving on, I was willing to say, okay. For the
let's move into the portion. So me and Jake will, again, in the most good faith way possible, we will grant definition 2 that utilizing emergency power, Trump sent in the National Guard, and that is a form of power consolidation, right? Just for the purposes of being super good faith. I don't actually see why that's bad. Even if I grant that that's the case, that he sent in the Guard because the cops there were standing down. I watched him do it. I watched him live. You have no reason to doubt me. It's all recorded. There's thousands and thousands of people watching right now who would correct me if they weren't watching it, but they did. Why is it a bad thing that he sent the military in to quell remember, there's a lot of citizens in California who are not progressive liberals. There's tons and tons and tons of them. In fact, there's many more than people think who are at the mercy of various violations of these people hurting their businesses, hurting them, destroying their property, and terrorizing them. And so, Trump deploying the troops, if you're not willing to do your job, I see that as a good thing. Even if it was a violation, I would still say it's a good thing. That sometimes you have to violate the law in order to do good things.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we can get into that a little bit more if you want, because I don't agree that the police weren't doing their job. Like I said, there were 200 arrests before the National Guard was ever deployed. I tried to find that AM. What was the name of it? It was a gas station. The AM PM.
Or something.
Here, somebody in the Crucible crew, go back to that original broadcast real quick. Moon, maybe clip that out. Clip out them looting while the cops are just standing there and watching them for hours. By the way, not for a few minutes. Send it over to Tom. He'll play it. And then you'll have the proof in front of you.
And then I guess I can also speak on other videos that I've seen as well. Like I did see places getting looted, but I saw them getting looted very quickly without any police around. And then the second that police showed up, they started to quell the looting.
This was over the court. Listen, it is true that during the day, things which happened during the day had much more rapid responses. Okay, well, at nighttime, I actually doubt that you did see those videos because most of the time, well, maybe you did. I don't know. I didn't see everything that ever occurred during those riots. That would be impossible. But for the most part, I did have the main cams which were on the street. And yes, the police mostly did stand down while they were setting things on fire, setting buildings on fire, breaking everything in their path, destroying private property, beating people up and doing heinous things. And they weren't doing this for a few minutes. And then the cops came in and broke it up. If they were, I'd be very charitable and be like, look, maybe they got to do something about their response time, but they're trying to protect the citizenry around them. They were in a semicircle of hundreds while they were firebombing and setting fires and looting stores, and they stood there and watched it. You're never going to convince me that wasn't a stand down order in a million fucking years. No way.
So you think it was a circle of hundreds of protesters and rioters?
No, cops.
Or cops. Okay. Well, if it was a lot of cops, that could have easily quelled like protesters, like looters and stuff. And I guess I'll agree with that.
Yeah,
but
it was, bro.
I don't think
Hundreds
there's been
of
any evidence of standing down. Not necessarily.
Yeah, that's powerful evidence of standing down. Not to mention the fact that when we were going into these various meetings for the organizers of these protests, they were talking very openly about how it is that the police have stand down orders. They're only allowed to arrest you under certain circumstances. And that if you're going to, basically destroy property and things like that, at least be smart about it. Now, they use coded language, but that is what they were talking about. And it was very obvious to the onlooker that's what they were talking about. By the way, I wasn't the only one who went in those spaces, and Jake isn't the only one who went in those spaces. Hundreds of conservative commentators went in those spaces and recorded them.
I'm watching it right now. I've got videos if we need.
Oh, yeah,
I'm watching it right now on X. I can pull it up. Yeah,
absolutely.
Where do I send it to you, Tom? Or
send it to Tom.
Yeah, you can just send it to me.
All right, this is not technology is not my forte. I don't really know how to message.
PM one?
Or maybe I can share my screen.
DM real quick. I'm sending you a DM right now, and you can just
on X
send it there.
Okay, cool,
on Discord.
Oh, on Discord.
And by the way, I just want to let you know that I called this exact moment that in the future I'd be in debates with people who would deny what me and my audience were seeing in real time. Thousands of us were watching in real time. I said, and in the future, I will be debating with progressives who will say that this never happened as we watch it in real time.
Well, again, I don't know if I ever denied it. I just said I didn't see it.
Well, you're about to see it.
And then I saw the contrary as well. So,
and you're about to see him throw firebombs at cops and everything. It's ridiculous.
If you don't see it on Discord, if you have trouble with Discord, I sent you a DM on Twitter as well, or on X.
I think I sent it to you on Discord.
Oh, yep,
in the DM.
I got it. Okay. All right.
Vince, I think your mic is off.
Oh, my bad. I'm over here talking. I didn't realize my mic is muted. Where's this video posted at? So
okay.
On here?
All right.
Okay.
I have the share screen up right now. So just pull up the share screen. Okay. Does everybody have it up?
Okay, yeah, go ahead and play it.
You got it up, Corbin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait, there was a smoke.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What's the smoke? What's the smoke?
Something funny or?
Yeah, they're doing nothing, guys. They're just, they're just sitting there throwing smoke as well. And there's like, what? I see like maybe 10 cops. Not to mention as well, this is on June 21st.
Listen to me. This isn't the video. This isn't the video, bro.
This is on June 21st.
Oh, yeah.
This is on June 21st.
Shit, this is June 21st.
Yeah, June 21st.
This is actually
hilarious.
This video.
Way after. Way to go, guys. Really
this
proved us
isn't the
wrong
video.
there, huh?
They're clip. Hey, they're clipping the video right now. You'll see it yourself.
Okay, but Andrew, you can see that video wasn't. That video wasn't good evidence, right?
Yeah, I'm not
willing to make concessions that video was proof of what it is that I'm saying, but I will give you the proof shortly.
Can you, Andrew? Do you have the gas station that you brought up, the AM PM one?
Yes.
I tried to look for videos for that. All right, yeah.
Yes. You can look at it's the very famous donut shop that they were semicircle around. You can find it yourself, but I'm having my clippers take care of it right this second.
I looked up. It said it was a gas station, the AM/PM.
Yeah, see, I thought it was an AM/PM. Maybe it wasn't an AM/PM, but I think it was. And yeah, they're grabbing it right now. And yes, they were in a semicircle, hundreds of them watching this looting happen. They were doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to show the one that
Moon, make sure you grab that for me. Let me just double check and see if I got it yet.
Just contrary to not Andrew's point, but at least Snake's point.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get context from a 30-second clip. I agree. I don't think you are. So, but hang tight.
Context of the clip,
I will look. The thing is, it's almost surreal to me because there was thousands of us on my live stream. I think we had 15,000 plus watching that night, watching it live. And it's surreal to me that people would even deny this reality. However,
But what was actually wrong with the... Yeah, go on. Sorry.
In the spirit of good faith, if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. So I do think that we will provide it. But yeah.
No,
what was actually wrong with the June 21st clip? I don't really get it. What was wrong with the June 21st clip?
It wasn't like 100 cops. It was like maybe 10, and they were throwing.
Oh, I never said it was 100 cops. I was just talking about general cops doing stand-downs.
Yeah, one, they were outnumbered, and two, they were throwing smoke bombs. So it looked
but like you're vandalizing property, though. You're still vandalizing property.
They were trying to quell the
You're
protest.
sounding like the leftists now. Just, make sure you just pop them in the leg, guys. Just pop them in the leg. Just, why don't you just run in there and come on? This is hilarious.
Look, if there was a bunch of them with guns and if they all had all types of weapons and everything, but if you got a few people who are vandalizing property, you can go in there and you can stop that.
Let me get
they're
this
not doing anything. They're just standing there.
You want the 10 cops to go run into a confined space like a building where you don't know what's around each corner, where there's a bunch of rioters and protesters inside of that place looting. You think that's a safe environment for police officers to go into? You think that's a safe place for environment to go into?
They are taking steps to actively quell.
It wasn't inside a building. It was a crowd, and there was a few people who were... The thing is, though, they were doing nothing. That's the problem. They could have at least tried to maybe form a guard. They could have gotten some backup. They could have done something, but they were doing nothing. And there was like countless examples of this.
Not doing nothing by definition.
You can put your hand on your head and oh my god, I'm Destiny's little bitch. But this is not actually an argument. All right,
really got
them. So if they're doing absolutely nothing, they're not actually bringing any backup or anything. They're sitting there doing nothing.
Don't have any valid things.
There's countless examples of this. There's countless examples. We're watching the whole thing.
Countless examples of police officers. I'm actually looking at
that one that you brought up.
Yeah, I'm looking at
my Clipper screen recording it right now. We'll be able to show it in just a second. I promise.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll send it right over to your Telegram, Jake. You can pull it up and play it on stream.
Yeah, I mean the ones I'm looking at, I typed in Los Angeles AM/PM like
drowning
gas station protests, and I came across a few different videos, but they're all of like police sending in various smoke grenades and things of that nature. And
that's what I found mostly too.
Yeah, and we were seeing this all over. I don't know where exactly this would have taken place. I don't know if there's any police. I mean, if there is half circle.
It took place at a very famous. Hang on, it took place at the corner of a very famous donut shop in Los Angeles, a landmark donut shop. I don't remember the name. Anybody in the chat remember the name of the donut shop or the donut shop?
I remember it was at the four-way intersection.
Yeah, it was at the four-way intersection, and they were looting it, and there was hundreds of cops watching it. Everybody saw it. What you're doing right now is a total denial of reality, but we'll show you the clip.
Sure. Okay, so I just want to be sure. You're saying, hold on, Corbin.
We haven't seen
Andrew
it yet.
said, I just wanted to be clear, hundreds of cops? So there's hundreds of cops.
Hundreds
of cops.
Okay.
Hundreds of cops.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying that there was looting or anything. I haven't seen looting. I was just
there was hundreds and looting. Yes, hundreds of cops in a semicircle and looting between all those. There was at least 200 cops total on that in that four-way. There's no way that there wasn't. No fucking way that there wasn't.
At least 200.
I'm trying to see if I can find.
Where's this getting sent to, Andrew? Or?
You just send it to me again. Andrew, you're muted.
Oh, I don't have anything, so I don't know. Like, I don't really use Telegram or anything, so I don't really know where this is meant to be going to. Can she send it to you?
I thought he was saying Moon was sending.
They're screen recording it to give enough context so that it's irrefutable. It's going to take a second, but I'm going to give you the clip so that you guys can stop denying fucking reality. And by the way, you
haven't denied your evidence.
Yeah, you have. You have.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There we go. I got it. Hang on.
Is it Dale's
Donuts? I got it. Yeah, hang on. I got it. 1 second.
I think I see a video.
I'm sending it over to Jake right now so that you can see for yourself exactly what's going on.
Why don't you just send it to me?
All right.
Because he can screen. Well, okay, because it's a big file, and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to send it to you. I can send it to him in seconds.
Oh, okay, that's
fine.
fine.
Up on his screen.
That's fine.
Where are you sending it to?
I'm sending it to your Telegram.
I don't have Telegram on my computer.
Were they?
Can you send it to Discord or something?
Were they looting
I'm not
buildings?
sure.
Or were they just doing donuts in a street? Like, what were they exactly doing?
Oh no, they were fucking looting, bro.
Okay,
Big time looting.
I was just trying to see because I'm looking.
Yeah,
I'm looking
the file's too big to send it to you that way on Discord. Tom, how do I send this thing to you?
If you don't have it on Discord, I
Telegram?
I don't know. I post it on Twitter, maybe. I guess.
Oh my god.
I don't have Telegram.
I do see a video
Hang on.
where there was a donut shop and there was like a car on fire.
Hang on a second. I'll figure this out. I'll do
All
it.
right. It just I
I was gonna say,
wanna-
I mean, these people got the clips from somewhere, right? They can send whatever they got it from, though.
They went and screen recorded it from my channel while I was live covering it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but hang on a second.
how long do you think?
I'll
it's
see
gonna
if I
take?
can't.
No, I'm
it's
not
gonna
saying
take
they're
one more
derogatory,
second.
okay.
I understand, but just chill out. It's only going to take a second. I got the media player up now, and maybe I can go ahead and do this. All right.
When we get it out here.
Hang on.
So how's the weather?
We are going to try to take some questions towards the end here. So I guess we have.
Andrew
when do
only
we
has
start?
like 30 minutes left, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I have no idea.
not
Look,
even.
look, we need a way. We need a way very quickly. I have the file. I just need a way to give it to you, the moderator. There has to be some way we can do this real quick where you can show this file so that we can put this thing to bed.
You might be able to email it to me. It's tfoolery. .pc@gmail.com.
Okay,
So,
do any of you,
you
how
did-
about you two? Do you two have a Telegram?
I definitely don't. Do you have?
I'm banned off of Telegram.
Oh man. So why
Damn,
don't you do
getting
window
banned off
capture?
of
Can you
Telegram is
do
fucking
window
rough.
capture or something like that on Discord? You might be able to do a window
Yeah, I'm
capture.
not because the way that I'm set up for streaming, it's not possible for me
Oh,
to share
gotcha.
a file like that at the moment. I can only send it over. Moon, send Tom a Discord message and see if you can't get this file to him somehow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has like a Discord premium or whatever, if they pay for it, they'll be able to send like large files over. Now, Andrew, you initially said 2 hours. It is 11:30 now. So, do you want to?
Yeah, we can finish the last 30 minutes.
Is it 11:30?
However you
Okay.
guys want to do that. But
Did
I
you
would
wanna do
like
the
that
question?
video played before I head off because that'll put it to bed. So
Yeah. Okay. So then we'll go over some of the super chats real quick, and then whenever the video pops up, we'll go over that one. Catmere for 655. He says, Tom, ask Andrew if January 6th was an insurrection. Or wait, if January 6th was an insurrection, was BLM and why? I think Andrew. Oh yeah, Andrew. The last time we talked about this, you said that you were gonna. You weren't ready to give a definition of insurrection. Did you? Did you eventually get?
I just want to tell that chatter
Putting the Andrew
who's
on the
probably
spot.
Destiny fan. He's probably Destiny
Putting the Andrew on
fan
the
number.
spot.
Oh,
number
it's not.
33,
This
number
is a huge
385.
fan of yours.
I just wanted to let you know it's not my burden.
Okay. Yeah. No. This is a huge fan of yours. This is Catmere. I don't know.
And then he should take that answer and run with it.
Let's see. I think he wants us to fight about it, I'm assuming. Aaron M. Sound for $25. He said, does Andrew think that people like myself who live in LA believe his fabrications, or is he that gullible and disconnected from reality? Andrew, are you that disconnected from reality, or do you?
Should I
Do
believe
you
my
believe
friends who?
things?
Should I
What-
believe my friends in LA and what I saw with my own eyes, or should I believe you, anonymous internet guy?
Oh, right.
True.
Who should I believe? You know what? I believe you.
Cap-
You live in LA and saw it all because you said
That is
so. I
bad.
believe you, bro.
Catmere also sent another one for $32.75 and said, "W Andrew, not one step back."
Now one step.
All right, so I guess he is an Andrew fan.
Godzilla for $3.63. He said it's already over. Oh wait, that's he said Destiny lost, Andrew won, and Jake also showed up. You're welcome. All right. Did I just Am I still here?
Go over.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
look, Tom was good enough to host the debate. Make sure that you send over to him. Make sure that you send over to him super chats that call him bald. He doesn't care if you call him bald, but we should always support the channels that support us, and he organized the debate. So make sure you get over there and send some super chat, Tom.
Hey, Andrew, you got to be more tolerable than that. He's not bald. He's hairline challenged. All right.
True. True.
All right. Got to be nice to our host.
But yeah,
Are you bicking your head now, Tom? Do you bick it, bro? Are you
Bick?
bicking your head, bro?
What does that mean?
Do you use head blade?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Like a Bic razor blade. Like, never mind.
Oh no, I get Harry's, bro.
You get
all I'm saying
haircuts?
is we've
Yeah,
never
this is
seen
the
Caillou and Tom in the same room. Okay.
Did you say you get haircuts?
No, Harry's. It's a type of blade. No.
Oh. We call haircuts Harry's over here, so in Australia. So
He's
you guys put
Australian.
a YS at the end of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. And then let's see. Yeah, I think that's all of them. Okay. But all right, yeah, we are doing, I think, a very long stream today, so we will still be on for a lot longer after this.
You had Destiny and Rob before this.
Yeah, so this is the third debate of today. We had the first debate was on the Wired article. Then the second debate was Destiny versus Andrew, and then this the third one. So yeah, we've had
the second debate was
pretty
Destiny
full
versus
day.
Andrew. Andrew, you did both debates.
Or sorry, Rob Norris. Sorry, my bad. Another $5 super chat from Freak. He said, "I don't respect Wibs, but I do respect the platform allowing Andrew and Jake on. Appreciate it, Free."
Well, actually, these guys were all right, especially when things settled down. When me and Vince were able to actually have a conversation and dive into the actual debate, it wasn't so bad. I think a lot of times people hear things. They hear things about me, right? And Andrew's very into semantics, and he'll get you down the road of good and evil and blah. It's like, no, man, I'm here to debate one topic. And I'm happy in the beginning of a debate in the future, Vince, if you just want to cover like what we mean by things quickly, I'm always happy to dive right into the debate after that. I just don't want to equivocate the whole time. That's all.
Well, and the thing is like when it comes to the problem is that when we talk about more, I think it was a misunderstanding of what you were saying based on the conversation we were having. So I think that's where it really got into like a big circle, right? It was just not quite understanding what you were meaning by it, because if you were meaning like additional, like I would agree with you, right? I don't want to rehash the argument, but I want to be very clear. I know it's like super late to mention this. I had a whole like a ton of stuff when it came to the idea of consolidation of power. But
let's go round two.
We could definitely set something up. I mean, I'd be down.
I'll host it if you want.
We'll do a round two.
I would.
That way we can get to all your points. I want to make sure you can get to all your points.
I'd be happy to host.
I think that's fair. I did promise you could, so I'll come back and do a round two so you can get to your.
Well, I mean, if we're going to midnight, if you guys, we have 25 minutes left, right? So, did we want to get to the next point?
I guess
I'm wary about sparking up another sub debate with only 20 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with waiting until another. And I will say this, Andrew, I don't know if you remember, but you came into a TikTok live at one point, whenever I was in there with Mojo and a few other people in there, and I said I would love to debate you at some point in time. But you went ham on some of the feminists that were in there, and then your wife came in and then went ham. You probably don't remember it, but
was it fucking hilarious though?
Probably.
I knew what you do with TikTok invasions, and I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to say that in a derogatory sense. Like, I totally get that from a content creator's perspective of why you would do it, because I, as someone who was on Twitch poll going to TikTok, totally understand why you would do it. But I was trying to tell people in there, I'm like, hey, I was the bad guy on that for you. I was like, hey guys, don't do that. And they're like, no, we want to be. I'm like, okay, y'all are on your
Oh no, I do remember that.
Just quickly, I've let Moon know. I've messaged her on X if she checks her inboxes to send me the Google Drive, because I'm reading the chat and apparently it's on a Google Drive, the video. But anyway,
okay, great. Moon, DM,
thank
Jake,
you, Joseph. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, buddy. I just saw that. I don't.
Yeah, they can also share a link with me. You're able to share links from Google Drive. So yeah, it should be pretty simple.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't agree in putting signing 1,000 page contract.
Yeah, I'll share you the Google Drive when I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, Andrew, that's why I said I wanted to debate you, but I wanted to come prepared. I don't believe in doing debates just off the cuff. You're naturally at a disadvantage at that point. So, and that
Totally
that was,
fair.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I think whenever you were in there, I was telling her, I'm like, no, don't do it. And they kept going. I'm like, okay, y'all are on y'all's own. I'm telling you. So, but
Well, look, I'm happy to do a follow up.
Check
And
your DMs.
I'll even go
Tom.
to Corbin's channel. I'm fine with that. A 1v1 later, we can address each one of your points that you have on the same topic. I think that that's totally fair. We did get bogged down on this one, but I think that it needed to get bogged down on, honestly.
My concern
So now that we've kind of gotten kind of like, you know, all of the semantics and stuff out of the way, and everyone's
Just quickly, Tom, have you got that DM I sent you? Yeah,
maybe
I did.
it would be
I'm
like
downloading it right now.
It'd be like a good, healthy follow up between Vince and Andrew, and I would love to host.
my only concern
Trying to grow that old channel of yours, Corbin?
Absolutely. I'm almost to 90 subs. I'm getting there, man.
You know what, though? I'm not mad about it, Corbin. I'm not mad about it. If you're a good faith moderator, man, I'll be happy to come debate on your channel. I have no problem doing that.
My only concern, Andrew, and I'll say this, and I don't want us to get bogged down on this either, is that I feel like we kind of the problem was that all of the points I had were to the argument of was Trump consolidating power, and so I feel like towards the end there we kind of had a concession. But I mean, if you're willing to like engage on each of those individual points I bring up, I'm totally down with that.
Well, that was only part one. Part two is is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah,
and that's where that's a more
click that video though. Click the video and watch now.
We have so we have the screen share up for everybody. Make sure real quick. Let me know that you guys can hear this as well.
Holy shit, dude.
Everybody hear it?
I can
hear it. Yep.
Okay, look. There's a guy that looks oddly like Andrew.
Is that that same Arco station? Arco, not AM/PM. I was wrong.
Okay.
That's why it was an Arco.
Freaking confusing me, Andrew. Throwing me off my game.
right now, dude. I'm like crazy.
Yeah, no looting going on there. That guy just really wanted a lot.
I'm feeling like
where's the
I'm looking
feeling like we might have a dumpster.
They're semi-corner around this entire area. There's like 200 of them on the two different points surrounding this Arco station.
Is that shown in this clip?
video?
I think maybe it is. Fast forward it a bit. Fast forward it more. Yeah, there we go. It looks like it's going to start to pan.
This is
maybe.
the same intersection. That's the gas station across the street.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
there's police. So, yeah, semis.
Okay, yeah,
hundreds of them.
Where's hundreds? That's not hundreds,
Bro,
Andrew.
Listen to me. That what you see there with those patrol cars right there, that goes back deep, and then they're on the other side, catty corner to that, and on the other side of the street to the right of this picture. Like, we watched it live, dude. We watched it live.
You said like 200 people, 200 cops. There's like barely 10. There's barely 10 in that picture.
There's 10 cars, dude. You can see.
No, you're wrong. I'm telling you, you're fucking wrong. And Moon, if you have
curiosity,
if you have the footage of them showing the intersection, I don't remember the day.
Do you have
that's
like,
also
the
kind of
exact
important as well.
address? Or, what's the name of the place?
This was the Arco station that was catty corner to, I believe that there was a famous donut shop that they were next to. And right across the street, I think that there was, I'm trying to remember what was all there at that intersection. But yeah, it was an Arco intersection.
I've got another one here where they're literally doing donuts in front of the cop cars as well.
Yeah, I don't think donuts and looting are necessarily
there was
the same thing, but
June 8th, I think that this was June 8th.
Okay, so when I Google it, it says an Arco gas station in Compton was looted by a crowd of about 100 people in April 2016, 2023, following a street takeover. The looters smashed the glass doors and stole thousands of dollars worth of merchandise, including alcohol and condoms, causing significant damage to the store. Law enforcement has asked for public assistance in identifying the involved individuals.
Yeah, so listen, by the way, this intersection was a place of interest for 2 straight days of there was a semicircle at multiple times of hundreds of police officers.
So
watching these places getting looted.
I found I found an article talking about the loot, but the thing is it's dated July 15th. That was
No. This was taken, I believe.
Right?
I believe that this was taken.
Wait,
I don't remember.
So, I think it's important to follow
the
the line here. So June 8th would have been before the Marines were deployed. This is the National Guard's deployed too. I just want to mention that as well.
I told you that's what made my point that this type of lawlessness was really only happening until they deployed the military.
I sent part 2, by the way, Tom. It's there.
Yeah, part 2. Let's see if we can see all the cops.
The article talking about it is dated July 15th.
So
that was after the National Guard was deployed, right?
I believe it was June. Yeah, but I believe that this was June 8th is when this was taken. I believe.
I think this is talking about this. It's
June 7th. It was done June 7th.
Okay, let me look up June 7th.
Yeah, June 7th.
Okay, I have this screen share up now as well. Make sure you guys have it pulled up.
There we go. Play it.
Yeah, there's the cops at the donut shop.
Yeah, look at that shit.
Right.
Now watch as that pans around, man. It'll show. I mean, they were on both sides of this street. They were across the other street, and there was tons of them. And by the way, that ain't no 10 cop cars.
They're just fucking robbing this place blind. At the AM/PM.
Arco.
Yeah, I think it doesn't really show anything after that.
Okay, but anyway, the footage is there on my channel, and yes, it was. I mean, there was at least 200, dude, at least 200 total, and they were making multiple lines out in front of that place.
Okay, so there is an AM/PM. I actually went to the person's actual live stream, and that is water tagged or watermarked or whatever, and it doesn't look like there's hundreds of cops, and it's specifically the AM/PM. But that, I mean, this is
this was the Arco, bro. This was the Arco station.
So the Arco station. Okay.
Yeah, and there was hundreds. There was at least 200. I guarantee you, there was at least 200 at points in that night who were watching that looting happen and weren't doing shit.
Okay, so I see the paint. Okay, I actually found the footage now that you're talking about it. It is still the AM/PM. It's not an Arco, but I see Arco in the background. That's the gas that they're filling up there. Yeah, they pan around and then.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, one is the convenience store. The other one is the
gas
that they're getting.
Yeah, like even the one I'm looking at right here, where they pan out to show the cops that are positioned out there. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. It's definitely not hundreds, but that's just a matter of like opinion. Actually, the guy actually goes up near the cops. Yeah, there's maybe like 50, at best like 100. I'll give you that. Like if I'm being overly considerate, maybe 100.
In the video, it sounded like.
But hang on. But how many points are you seeing? Are you seeing one, or are you seeing 2 points, or are you seeing 3 points?
Tom, do you have the actual live stream that you can see? I have the clip here with the exact timestamp if you want. Here, I go send this to you.
Because there's three different points where the police were. So you're probably only seeing the first 2 points, which is across the street at the donut shop and then directly to the left of that at the intersection. You're not seeing the other side, which I believe is the north side. There was 200 cops there at least.
So like,
and you say, oh, there's only 100. It's like, okay, is that all?
I mean, at best, like I said, at best 100. It looks more like maybe 25 to 50. Let me go ahead and provide this to Tom real quick so we can look at it. Tom.
Was this on the No King's Day, Andrew? Was this on the actual day, or was this is one of the other ones beforehand?
This was June.
No King's Day. No.
This was what, June 6th? I think it was June 6th. Which June 6th?
Make sure screens up.
This was by the way, this was over multiple days. This didn't happen over just one day.
What's the timestamp on this?
Yeah, this is June 7th. Timestamp is going to be 8:00. Well, it's somewhere in the range of 8:07:17.
Yeah, this is too early. This is too early in the day.
No, yeah, that
no, this is
okay,
this is like
gotcha.
a 9 hour
there we go. Okay, yeah. So that's one point of the intersection. That's one point of the intersection going down. That's only 1 point. All 3 points of the intersection looked exactly like that, dude. There was 200 cops there at least.
So what it looks like the
All
cops
3
did,
points.
if you watch the entire video, that's like maybe 25 to 50 people. But if you look at the actual like video, what it did was the cops set up.
Bro, listen.
Hold on,
what did I just tell you?
Hold on.
There's 3 points.
Oh, wait.
Context.
Wait. I got proof here. 825. Tom, go to 825. Actually, go to 824. And then I want you to look at what they do. Go to 824. They did nothing. Go to 824. And you'll see something extravagant take place. Yeah, right there. Watch something in the background. Watch what goes off in the background.
Oh, it's frozen.
They
on the
shot
screen.
smoke a flash at them.
Yeah. So what?
Were they?
They would. Well, here's what they would do. Let me explain what they were doing. Hang on. Let me explain what they were doing. So what was going on is when the protesters would run over and throw fire bombs at the police and fireworks at the police, they would send shots back of tear gas. They did not ever cross that street in force and stop these people from looting this fucking place until after it was already completely decimated.
I had 6 different streams going at once, watching all these things.
We were watching it. And by the way, that one area that you're showing, that was just one corner where those police were deployed. There was 4 or 3 different corners that all looked exactly like that. All you're doing is proving my point for me, dude.
Yes, I can explain this. Sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, I can explain this. It's very simple. So first of all, they did do something. Thank you. Second of all, if you actually look at what they did, they set up a perimeter so that whenever these individuals went there, they ended up arresting them when they tried to leave that perimeter. You can actually go see, I believe, towards the end of this clip.
They weren't arresting fucking nobody.
Yes, they did.
That place was already cleared out by this time.
That
place was already fucking cleared out. They weren't arresting anybody. That place was getting fucking looted like crazy.
Go to
You're gonna show us 4 people get arrested after hundreds of people.
4 people get arrested. Listen to Tom. Andrew, he's shifting so bad. Dang.
There's no shift. Bro,
you said nobody got arrested. Someone got arrested.
This place
there was no action. There was action. And then they set up a perimeter, which you just said.
So first of all, this is the most.
So they weren't fucking nothing. They were throwing
pedantic.
They were throwing tear gas.
Here's the thing. It's so funny. It's like you're not actually refuting anything I'm saying. You're just trying to be a pedant, and that's not going to work here. You had hundreds. You had hundreds.
Categorically, they're not doing.
Let him make his point.
You fucking idiot. There was hundreds of people who looted that place. Not 10, not 20, not 30. There was hundreds who went through that place. While the cops in force were stop talking. Let me finish. Hundreds of them were looting the place. You can't go over and say that after the end of it, after the cops were getting firebombed, and that's the only time they would respond, by the way. It's after they were getting firebombed when they would launch fireworks and shit at them. They stood there in those semicircles, hundreds of them, and just watched that place getting looted. And they were not arresting the people walking out.
Just watch the place get looted,
trying to jump
except for the people that they
arrested.
Except
for the people that they arrested, Andrew.
Stop fucking talking. Let me finish. You showing that at the very end of the night, 3 people get fucking arrested. You don't even know what you're getting arrested for. You don't even fucking know.
Hey, wait, but this is the best part, y'all. You ready for this? This is the kicker. Not only were there people arrested, not only were there dispersant agents, guess what? You ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Buckle up. That was June 6th. Guess what? The National Guard didn't arrive until when? June 7th. So guess what?
That makes
this is showing the police going in and doing their job.
That's my point.
Thank you.
You are such a doofus.
Yeah, so exactly.
So bad,
the cops went in, did their job. There's clearly no standout orders. They doing exactly what they were told on June 6th.
Their job is to let them loot it.
Came in.
I know you hate facts.
I know you do.
Is their job to let them loot it?
Not even deployed.
Was their job to let them loot that fucking place?
They couldn't
answer my question.
My argument's changing.
They didn't immediately
answer the question. You just said the cops were doing their job. Their job was to let them loot that place.
I like how you move from the argument. So the argument was
answer the fucking question. Answer the question.
They set violently trampling over each other.
When did he say no one got arrested? You absolute gimps.
Never.
Yeah,
by the way, I'm saying nobody was getting arrested while they were looting it. And by the way, let's point this out.
We're changing more qualifiers.
How are the cops? How are the cops doing their job? By the way, I wouldn't gloat. You got your ass kicked this debate, and by the way, at this point, you're still losing.
Buddy. You're the one that's
still losing badly.
for the whole
You're
debate.
the one who made the claim.
You're
Yeah, I want to be very
still-
clear.
you're
Andrew
still
sat
losing.
here. The initial claim is that there was a stand down order. Then there was a video that came out showing that they set up a perimeter in 4 different corners, according to Andrew's own statement. Then he said that there was
3.
nothing that happened. Oh, 3. Sorry, still set a perimeter.
They did.
Then
They
next thing
watched them loot it.
that's great. I'm going to finish my point. So then what you saw was is they set in and he said, oh, well, they didn't do nothing. They standed down. And guess what? We just saw where they deployed a smoke grenade. And then when he said there was no arrest, and we just saw
deployed a smoke
and
grenade.
then lastly, he said that the National Guard had to come in to quell these protests. But we just saw where this happened on June 6th before the National Guard came in. Andrew, you are completely wrong on all of your previous premises.
If only you knew how stupid you look on during his coverage. If only you knew how stupid you look.
I know it's so
Because
bad.
there was 30 seconds of
so
police
my
standing
argument
around.
was
Therefore, it
National
means they were
Guard.
standing
The
down.
National Guard needed
Standing
to
down.
come in to bring back order from the lawlessness, as we demonstrate hours of people looting a store with nobody getting arrested at all, unless
Your
they
buddy
directly.
Rattlesnake
Yes, my
provided-
turn. It's my turn.
Sorry.
My
Go
turn.
ahead.
My turn. Right. With literal hours of them looting this fucking place. They were having a good time in front of it. It was like a fucking block party. They were drinking beer. They were eating pizza. The fucking store clerk had his hands up and just said, fucking take it, because he was so terrified while the cops fucking watched. They just watched it for hours. Now he says, oh, at the end of the night, there's a couple of people sitting down getting arrested. That's not them doing their fucking job. They were obviously standing down. And yes, of course, that this is exactly the type of footage that required the National Guard to go in the first place. This guy's entire argument is, well, they looted it for fucking hours while the cops just watched. But if they attacked cops, the cops did something. And by the end of the night, they arrested maybe 2 people because reasons. Yeah, great fucking argument, dipshit.
Hey, Corbin,
If
can I ask
Connor
you-
was in here,
Corbin, can I ask you a question?
I
When
was
was
just
that-
saying, yes. Sorry, one more thing. Before, if Connor was in here, he has like a background in like a police procedure and stuff, he'd be losing his fucking mind.
Yeah, Corbin, I wanted to ask you something. What was that date that
had it
Rattlesnake showed?
yesterday.
Hey, Corbin, what was that date that Rattlesnake showed of the looting that was taking place? When was that?
When was it? Was it
June 21st?
Was it June 21st?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
June
what?
21st. So they really
Oh.
quelled that looting, didn't they?
Absolutely.
What are you talking about? It's obviously you're saying the video. You're talking about the video that was posted after.
So when was the date of the video?
That was dated
Rattlesnake?
June 21st.
Yeah, the one that was dated
As
June
in,
21st.
but how do you know that the video was posted on the day that it was recorded?
How do
Or
you
if it
know
was
that
reposted?
you're not making an informed
because
opinion?
they made it up.
Yeah, you don't know
They
that.
didn't want to give you that it was too.
'Cause they made it up.
It literally
Yeah.
said June 21st. You have no other evidence to suggest it was
Even
that.
if
Oh
you
my
wanna say
god, the
it was
video
a
was
week
put that must mean the
beforehand.
video was recorded on that
must mean
day.
it was taken.
They're desperate. They're so desperate.
Dude,
Even if you want to say that,
So
it was a
desperate.
week before, you still lose.
every video I've ever posted on Twitter was always recorded that day. You're right. Good one.
So when
Every
was it
single
recorded?
time.
When was it
If,
recorded? Then,
so
Rattlesnake?
desperate.
When was it
On
recorded?
the day,
Rattlesnake?
because that's the logic. On
Oh,
the
okay,
same
yeah,
day,
you
bro.
have
Yeah,
no
it must
evidence
have
to
been.
suggest. You have no evidence to suggest when it was
Neither do
actually
you.
recorded.
You actually don't either.
Yeah.
All you have is the evidence of when it was posted, you dipshit.
But what's funny is that Rattlesnake.
I think that's their point, though, is that they in order for it to be evidence in their favor, in you guys' favor, that we would have to know when.
No, I
when it
gave
was
the
done,
date for
right?
my video, and it demonstrated there wasn't
It didn't
10 cops
demonstrate- it
there,
didn't
like
demonstrate
dipshit said.
Oh yeah,
And it showed that they were catty corner around that entire fucking place, and he pulled up the articles. It's just factually
I think
true.
Andrew
By the
just
way,
doesn't know how police
you might
procedure
try to
works.
gaslight me, but you're not going to gaslight 10,000 people who were live with me watching.
We can
It's not gonna
rewatch the
happen.
entire video in which you said there were
I'll
zero
watch
arrests,
it.
when you said the cops had stand down orders, and where you said that the cops
No.
didn't do
No.
anything about the looting. We can all watch it back.
Listen,
I
here's
heard
here's what happened. You said they were clearly arresting people. I said they weren't arresting anybody. We were talking about them looting the store over hours and
You said
hours.
zero people,
You
but yeah.
you very pedantically wanted to claim that at the end of the fucking night, they had 2 people down on the ground. You don't even know what they were arrested for, by the way. This does not negate what I said. All it does is make you a pedant when I'm trying to give you the facts of what happened that day. Don't be pedantic. If you want to hold me to the term
Ironic.
of literally of every single individualistic thing that I say, even when it's in context, right? Then I'll do the same thing to you, but God help you, because that'll go way worse for you than me.
Can someone
bro.
remind me how long?
People did get arrested.
Wait.
People did get arrested, right?
Can we explain? Can we remind ourselves how long did we spend going over consolidate more, or how long do we spend on that pedantic argument?
Yeah, about 45 minutes because you couldn't just take
okay.
the L.
Yeah,
and
because
then eventually you took the L and we moved on.
So now it's okay for
Eventually
you guys to be
took the L and you
pedantic.
moved on,
It's okay
dude.
for you guys to be pedantic. I see how it is. It's okay, guys.
No, bro, you're the one being pedantic, and we weren't being pedantic. We were just trying to clarify
just
so you
trying to
couldn't fucking
clarify.
equivocate, which
Okay.
you've been doing the whole night. All you do is equivocate.
To be fair, we did get there eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, after fucking a whole debate of stupid ass Vince equivocating the whole night.
Yeah, it was Vince equivocating the whole night. Absolutely.
Yes, he was pivoting between two separate definitions of a thing.
Ironic, because remember the
15 fucking
original
minutes.
argument? What was it? Hey, remember that, Corbin, when I asked him about those 3 injunctions that he ignored, and he said we would come back to it, and we never ended up coming back because he pivoted away to Los Angeles, and this is exactly why. So again,
You mean
ran
your
away.
partner's opening statement? You mean your partner's opening statement? The same
The
partner
one that
who
you,
brought
yeah,
up
the one that
to
you
Los
said you were going to
Angeles?
come back.
Hang on,
Don't even
the
try to
same
run.
partner-
He's
the
running.
same partner
He's
who
running
brought
like
it
a
up?
track star. He's running away.
So let me get this
He's
right.
running away.
So the same partner who brings this up wants to contended with. I go ahead and contend with him about this because I had significant evidence on my side as I had covered these. So
Clearly
rigorously.
not.
I was happy to dive in to the various forms of evidence. He brought it up.
Just not the
There was
judicial
no reason for me.
injunctions that I brought
there
up.
was-
You
there
wanted to
was
go
no
straight to Los
reason-
Angeles.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah,
You made a point. I
Yeah,
repeated
exactly.
The point.
You pivoted.
I made a point.
You ran away
That's
like
not
a
a pivot.
track star.
Wait, I ran way towards the topic.
The topic was, is Trump consolidating power? And that was the
And
topic.
his whole entire thing for how was that he deployed the fucking
now
military
you're
to LA,
pivoting again.
stupid.
Trump, see, this is the thing, is Andrew's
take
corner
the
because
L,
he
dude.
knows
You
With
can
your
see
partner,
it
by the way, who
multiple
agreed
times.
with me on what
Take the L,
consolidation
dude.
meant. Yeah, just take the
you
fucking
conceded,
L, dude.
and
So
then we were
bad.
charitable. We were magnanimous in victory, and then you conceded it
You
many
just can't
times.
help yourself, man. Can't help yourself.
Okay,
no matter
well,
how
let's,
good faith
let's
or
let
magnanimous
everybody,
we
was
are,
there or
you're
was
still
there
gonna be a
not-
stupid prick.
Was there
Well,
not like tear
we'll
gas?
let everybody
in
make,
the- I'm curious.
we'll let you guys make closing statements real quick. We'll go in the opposite direction because I know Andrew's got a jet. So Vince, if you'll start us off.
Sure. Yeah, I think the argument, the debate topic specifically was, is Trump consolidating power? And I think by what we've just observed here, I think the answer, as I said, is absolutely yes. We have seen concessions already being given that Trump is absolutely consolidating power, and I don't think we need to say much more. I think it's been proven already. They proved it for us.
Yeah, I mean,
And where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me at the Vince Wilson Show. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram even, which Instagram is a pain in the ass. But I'm on Instagram. So, yeah, if you want to find me, I'm on anywhere on there, posting shorts. And I do live streams Wednesdays and Fridays, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, Rattlesnake. Go ahead.
Rattlesnake TV on YouTube, and then Rattlesnake TV on Instagram as well. About to get over 100K on Instagram, so go follow us over there. Yeah, so I thought it was a dismal performance by our opponents here. They were trying to make the case that Trump is trying to accumulate more power, because we did agree on that consolidating would be accumulating more power. And then they conceded to our points numerous times. And they actually, and Andrew actually was generous in allowing for their definition so that they could then tell us why it's even bad. And they couldn't even do that. So on 0 fronts did they win any points whatsoever. And it was enjoyable. I didn't really have to do too much.
Yeah, I agree. You didn't
Awesome.
do too
Thank
much,
you, sir.
but,
And Corbin.
did you shout out your stuff? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My bad.
at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation. I didn't think it was super productive, but it's a debate panel. I enjoyed Andrew being on. It was cool chatting with you. Been watching your stuff for a while, so it was cool to talk to you. One-to-one, or not one-to-one, but face-to-face. I do think you got. I think Andrew engaged in some good faith. I will give him that. Rattlesnake, I don't know what the fuck he was doing this whole conversation. I don't think he did or said anything even remotely productive. But yeah, in the end, I concede to nothing. All of my points, I would say, still stand. But yeah, in terms of where you can find my stuff, you can find me on YouTube at Corbin Sayles. You can also find me on TikTok at Corbin Sayles or on Instagram at Corbin Sayles.
So,
All right. Thank you, sir. Andrew.
Yeah. So for my close, I'll try to be brief, but this was very simple. So I've told my audience a million times. I can literally give them the debate and they'll still fight with me, which is the funniest shit on planet Earth. I can imagine me literally giving it to them in a form of a concession, and they still want to fight with me. It's just wonderfully hilarious. So here's what happened in sequence. All I wanted to do was get cleared up what we mean here by consolidation. Why was that important? So that we couldn't have equivocation. For those of you who don't know, equivocation is when there's ambiguity around a word, so you move between multiple definitions. That's what our opponents were trying to do. You saw when we were able to centralize on a single definition, my opponents didn't agree with each other. They didn't actually even agree on what consolidating power even fucking meant. And because of that, how are we supposed to have a productive debate? Our opponents don't even agree with each other on what consolidating power is. Andrew, that's just bad faith. Semantics. How could anything be more important than the fact that my debate opponents don't even fucking agree with each other on what consolidating power is when we are operating under the mode of debating if Trump is consolidating power? That's the craziest shit I ever saw. And then when we make the concession and go beyond that, right? They still fail time and time again. And this guy, Vince, terrified to get into an operating mode with me about what bad or good is, especially when it comes to what Trump is doing, which is equally hilarious. We literally tried to hand them in good faith on a silver platter, good faith definition so we could move to the debate, and they just wouldn't do it. I have no idea why. Leftists do this to themselves all the time. Never seen people who punched themselves in the face more than our opponents did tonight, but we hardly had to do anything. So it was pretty fun to watch. And then lastly, when we get into the topics, imagine being so pedantic that you go, oh, I only see 10 cops. You said there's hundreds. And then the next one, well, maybe there's 100, but I don't see 200. What a fucking dick. And then on top of that, we go, okay, dude, they were looting this store for hours and nobody was getting arrested. He goes to the end of it and says, oh, there's a couple people look like they're arrested to me, which has nothing to do with what I was saying. Very obvious. On top of that, dipshit over here says, look at that. They shot a smoke bomb over there. And all these people who are looting this fucking store only in response to them getting firebombed. They don't give a shit about the looting. They were standing down. It was very clear what they were saying. If you attack us, we'll fuck you up, but you can go ahead and burn this bitch down. Then he says, and Andrew said that they were deploying National Guard to keep order. And then brings up the date of the video as though this wasn't happening before the National Guard got there. He didn't realize he was so stupid that by conceding that point, he made my entire argument for me. So, gentlemen, I do have to thank you. You were the worst two debate partners for each other I could ever have imagined. And, man, you really beat the shit out of each other while me and Jake just kind of kicked our feet up and relaxed.
You can tell how much Vince pissed off Andrew based on his conclusion.
Why are you gay?
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate you guys joining. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know a lot of this was last minute, so I appreciate Corbin and Vince jumping in, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate
thank you to my debate interlocutors, and thank you to Tom Foolery, of course, for hosting this fine debate. Tom, I hope to see you down the road, and all of you fine gentlemen again.
All right. Alrighty then. Let me go back here. All right, guys. Listen, I have to go to the bathroom extremely bad. Y'all, I chugged 2 of these things, okay? Red pill, blue pill, I don't know. But I just chugged 2 of them, and I've got to go to the bathroom extremely bad now, okay? Listen, guys, if you have not followed me already, please follow me. I stream Wednesdays and Fridays, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be streaming Saturday to go over some of the more recent news coverage. But on that note, I've got to go before I lose my bladder. But, guys, thank you so much. And by the way, no, it's not because of Andrew. Literally, I chugged 2 of these, and I finished them like 30 minutes into a debate. Okay, you can watch the video. But anyways, y'all take care. I'll catch you guys later.